Peace and love. Welcome to Brother Citizen Man onto the call. How you doing, sir? How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I'm having a little trouble
Mhm.
connecting on the Zoom through my computer for some reason. But I guess
Word.
we could it's all right. It's okay. I don't mind.
Okay. Okay, so let me just let everybody. So people something
Hold on.
came
You
across
see me do you see me joining the meeting in the Zoom on a do you see another profile of mine trying to join the meeting?
not at the moment.
Okay, because I got you on the phone here, but on my computer it says join a meeting and it's just been circling this whole time. And I don't know what the hell that's about.
Probably try to come out and come in again on that one. But
Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. So if you see me pop up again, that's me from my computer.
okay. Shout out to everybody in the chat room. Like and share on your way in. We appreciate it. Today's citizen man is gonna be letting us know why the Prime Minister Netanyahu met with members of the Congressional Black Caucus. Now, you know, we have our conspiracy over here that the Congressional Black Caucus is boule. So this should be interesting, seeing how they would tie into Netanyahu. But yeah, this should be interesting. They met up with the man. You saw the thumbnail, and people was curious about it, including myself. So we got the perfect man on here today to enlighten us on what's good with that whole situation.
Well, I
Irene.
appreciate the compliment there, brother.
Oh yeah, it, people
Um,
know it ain't no cap.
yeah, yeah. Now the way I came across it was obviously I saw it on your. Can you hear me? You still hear me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. I saw it on your community post, and what the first thing that came to my mind was when did this happen? Because there was no timestamp or no date on it. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? So my initial reaction was it's probably something that happened recently. But it gets more interesting because I pulled up an article from the Times of Israel, and it says Netanyahu meets visiting Black Jewish caucus to boost ties with Biden and Democrats. And it had the same picture that you had. So I knew this was the meeting that you were referring to, and it actually happened on September 3rd, 2023. And after I read through the article, the whole timeline just kind of fell into place because this is September 2023. What happened? What was the next major event after this particular incident? You remember?
Um, After September 2023, what was the major event? Was it
You
no, I
know what
can't.
happened.
I
It
was
was it
just
was
finna
when
say.
the Israel Palestine war kicked off again.
And yeah, and Israel had used that new technology, that new dome technology and shit, or the force field or whatever.
Yeah, they call it the Iron Dome, but what it is just a missile. It's just a very highly advanced laser guided missile defense system, like what the you were in the Air Force. You're familiar with this kind of technology. What the ships would have, to shoot down missiles that other ships fire at them or planes fire at them and shit. And it's a combination of high powered multi barrel machine guns. Um, and high caliber anti-aircraft missiles, guns and missiles, so
Mm-hmm.
it's just them basically shooting down missiles that are being fired at them. Now the major event that happened was when the war started, and when the war started, everybody was like, poor Israel, they got attacked by Hamas and they have hostages and now Israel has to do something. So it was, there was a pretext there for Israel to start a war with Gaza. Now, I don't know if that story is true. I don't know if it was a an FF, you know what I mean? An attack on themselves to create a false pretext, kind of like their own version of 9/11, so to speak. And my suspicions of that is because the first reports was they killed 1,200 people in it. They deleted, I'm sorry, 1,200 people in Israel and took about 250 hostages. Then the next story I hear was the people that were actually deleted was more like 390 something, and then the 200 hostages number remained. Then, if you go look up articles about the IDF, the Israel Defense Force, actually deleting Israeli citizens, and then they say, "Oh, we thought they were Hamas." you it kind of makes you wonder, like, okay, if they're willing to do that to their own people, is it possible that they did it to their own people to create this pretext to go in and start attacking them? And so they attacked Gaza, they attacked a little part of the West Bank, and then they pulled back and then they moved back over to Gaza. Then they started attacking Syria. Then they started attacking Lebanon, who had absolutely nothing to do with what happened on October 7th. October 7th was the day when it happened. And it's been going on for so long that now all the images and videos of, the civilian deletions in Gaza, and the death toll numbers, about 35,000 now, and that includes men, women, and children. And when you go look at the footage from there, there's no images of military installations being destroyed. There's no images of, deleted fighters. There's no images of military equipment bombed out, nothing. It's all apartment buildings, houses, towns, villages, civilians. So now the world is screaming genocide, genocide, and everybody's kind of turning their backs on Israel. And it's even gotten to the point where we, being the number one military funders and supporters of Israel, our government is now deciding, or they're kind of dragging their feet on helping them, because the story is the genocide is happening because Israel has an agenda to eliminate those people. And it's gotten to the point where they can't even get, the United Nations can't even get aid to the refugees, the people that are fleeing these towns before they bomb them out, because the Israeli Defense Force is also attacking the convoys that are bringing the food in. You can even look up the article. It said something about the U.S. Air Force being ordered to airdrop food and supplies into Gaza because they couldn't bring vehicles in there because they kept getting blown up. And so when I go back to September 3rd, 2023, I'm sorry I had to start with that very long, tale, but that's kind of a summary of what's been happening. Now you go back to September 3rd, 2023, and you have the Black Congressional Caucus. And these people are not just random members of the Black Congressional Caucus. They're actually a subgroup within the Black Congressional Caucus called the Black Jewish Caucus.
Oh, I think I saw one of them with it did say that.
Yeah. And their job is to basically be the middlemen between, the people that Kanye West described and got his life destroyed over, right? Their job is to kind of be the liaisons or the representatives, as their jobs, describe, of Black Americans, and they're to maintain the relations between Black Americans and Jewish Americans in those big Jewish organizations. So when you think about that, and I'm pretty sure I know where your mind's going right now, bro, because the same people control the music industry, control the media, and they use a lot of us in their programs, right? The whole hip hop culture, it's all us.
This is
and
facts.
guess who's behind keeping those political connections going? This specific group of people. And I have an article here from the Times of Israel that's about this specific meeting. So if you don't mind, it'll probably take me about, I don't know, 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes to get through. I could read pretty quickly.
Take your time, man. Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so if you don't mind a little story time, ladies and gentlemen, sit tight and hit the Cashapp. Times of Israel. Netanyahu meets visiting Black Jewish caucus to boost ties with Biden and Democrats. Prime Minister stresses importance of bipartisan support for Israel in light of his failure to obtain a White House invitation, as U.S. President disapproves of contentious judicial overhaul. So this is the first paragraph, and what that describes is a situation that was happening already before the war kicked off in 2023 between the Biden administration and the Netanyahu administration in Israel, where the Netanyahu administration in Israel was going to do something with their court system that the Biden administration did not want them to do. I don't know what those reforms are. I haven't looked into that yet, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to find my way into it anyway. But the Biden administration was already at odds with them, and Netanyahu was basically, you know how the mafia would have beef with each other and then they'll have the bosses do a sit down to try to sort it out. Well, that's what Netanyahu was trying to do. And he got denied. Biden didn't want to meet him. Right now, Anybody can speculate what those reasons are. I have my own reasons, but that doesn't really matter at the moment. So the Times of Israel reports that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu met with 10 members of the Congressional Black Caucus as he tries to improve his standing with the Biden administration and among Democrats. The meeting Sunday in Jerusalem was part of a visit sponsored in part by the American Israel Education Foundation, an affiliate of the American Israel Public Affairs Committee. It comes as some U.S. Democrats are keeping their distance from Netanyahu because of his government's efforts to sap the power of Israel's judiciary. So that basically just describes the beef that they were having over Israel trying to, reform their own courts. Whether they were good reforms or bad reforms doesn't really matter if that's the reason they was beefing. The delegation was led by Representative Lucy McBeth, a Georgia Democrat whose suburban Atlanta district includes a substantial Jewish population. You see that? So you have a member of the Black Congressional Caucus who is basically who has to basically pander to their, to that specific population. So of course she has to be a part of the Black Jewish, Relations Committee or whatever. Representative Nikema Williams, a Georgia Democrat who co-chairs the Congressional Caucus on Black Jewish Relations. So there's the chairwoman and the co-chair. From the outset of the meeting, Netanyahu emphasized his commitment to bipartisan U.S. support for Israel. Now, the bipartisan support he wanted was to get the Democrats to side with him again, because traditionally the Republican Party have always been sucking up to Israel. We all know that. That's no secret. And and under the Obama administration, they actually gave Israel the most military aid I think, in U.S. history since they've been giving them aid. And they raised it. And under Trump, of course, they didn't decrease it. But now that Biden is in, they were talking about cutting it back because they didn't want to, work with Israel on the judicial reform. So they were going to leverage try to leverage whatever they had over them, which was the military aid. And Netanyahu was actually trying to meet with Biden and sort that out, because they knew that they were going to attack Gaza after October 7th and attack Palestine and attack Syria and Lebanon. And they knew that they needed the United States to side with them, because if both political parties in Congress vote and approve the aid packages, then they will get their piece of the pie and they will have the military equipment to go into Gaza and do what they're doing. Now, it gets a little deeper than that, but if you guys would like me to continue, I can't see the chat, bro, Sanchez. So let me know what the people are saying. If you want me to continue with the article or okay.
The people coming in, we just passed 400, man. You doing good, and we all just interested in the information. We appreciate you as well. Charlie said cheers, man.
Yeah, shout out to you guys, man. Appreciate y'all. So what I'll do is I'll just go through the article and then I'll give you the other part of the story that isn't mentioned in the article. I kind of tie what's going on with the war into what's going on here on the political stage, because that's what they're doing. They're just pretending and acting. But from the outset of the meeting, Netanyahu emphasized I already read that. The prime minister has so far failed to secure a White House meeting with U.S. President Joe Biden, who has made clear his unhappiness with Netanyahu's government and plans to overhaul Israel's court system. The White House has said the two leaders will encounter each other later this month when both men attend the UN General Assembly, but has studiously avoided confirming claims by Netanyahu officials that there will be a White House meeting. So he kept saying there ain't gonna be no meeting. Netanyahu has been dogged for years by suspicions among Democrats that he favors Republicans, and that's because the conservative voter base supports Israel because of the Christian religion, and a large percentage of that base are Christians that support Israel, and it's disappointing to me, frankly, but that's just the way it works in politics, unfortunately. And the Republican Party has always traditionally been, best friends with Israel, and the Democrats kind of been. Because you remember Obama was like pandering to the radical Muslims and stuff because they were paying ISIS to go in and attack these countries and destabilize these countries that wanted to switch their currency to a gold standard and get off the Federal Reserve. And that's where this story goes after this article after I get through this article. But let's see. Black Democrats especially were furious with him in 2015 when he accepted an invitation by Republicans to speak in Congress to lambaste the Iran policies of President Barack Obama, because Barack Obama was very friendly with Iran. But while he was friendly with Iran, after Netanyahu complained about it, he upped the aid to Israel to shut him up. AIPAC has in recent months been aggressively pushing back against claims by rival J Street that it is losing support among Democrats and progressives because its political action committee affiliates backed pro-Trump Republican election deniers in the last election. APACs, PACs, and PACs, that's AIPAC apostrophe S, PAC, so that's APAC's political action committees, and political action committees close to APAC have backed Macbeth, Williams, and others on the delegation, including Representative Richie Torres of New York. Now, AIPAC is another one of those small hat political organizations, and they're like almost like a parent organization, and the PACs, the political action committees, are the smaller groups from city to city, state to state that do the bidding and install the puppets. The delegation will continue to Rwanda. That means after they leave Israel, they're going to Africa. Williams told the Atlanta Journal Constitution last week that a theme of the visit was recovery from genocide, saying the delegation would study the two countries' effort to build common ground while developing and growing socially, culturally, and economically out of tragedy. So that's irrelevant to the story, them going to Africa, but them going to Israel was on Netanyahu's invitation to actually get them, because he had to activate the black people, right? To get them to try to convince Joe Biden to have a sit down with him, because he needed Joe Biden to basically do their bidding and get the support in Congress to approve the aid packages so Israel could get the weapons they needed to clear Gaza. Now, I'm still not sure for their reasons of attacking Syria and attacking Lebanon, but I know exactly why they're attacking the Gaza Strip and why their focus is on Gaza, and it's very diabolical what they're doing there. And also in recent weeks, Iran has actually gotten involved in the war with Israel. I don't know what the state of things are there and how bad it's gotten or if it's quieted down, but I haven't heard much about it. But the reason why they're focusing, well, what they're doing in Gaza, what they first did was they started launching missiles indiscriminately into the northern part of Gaza. And they forced all the people to evacuate the north and move south. And then they started telling the UN and the world, the world courts and shit, that they're not committing war. They're not there to commit war crimes. They're defending themselves from this terrible attack that happened on October 7th. So we have to defend ourselves. And they moved in on the northern part of Gaza. And once they secured the northern part of Gaza and ordered the people to move south, they started making plans to attack southern Gaza because they said the Hamas militants are in southern Gaza. Now, the crazy part about it is they had the fake news on mainstream media publish all these stories about Hamas militants holding a hospital hostage, and they had a command center set up in there, and they didn't. And even on the mainstream media news reports, every news outlet that went in there to cover it, every time they went to different scenes, everything would be moved around. So they'll show you these weapons, and they'll say, oh, these were the weapons left behind by the militants and blah, blah, blah. And then they'll go show something else. And then they'll pan the camera back to the weapons left behind by the militants, and it'd be a totally different set of guns. Like, they were absolutely faking the whole thing. And in this hospital, it was the last hospital that wasn't destroyed by the bombardments. And they cut the power to the hospital. And they were babies, like, I believe it was like a couple hundred babies in incubators that all died because they cut the power. It was some sick shit. And that's a war crime. You're not supposed to, when you're engaged in what you deem to be legitimate military combat, you're not supposed to attack hospitals or mosques or churches.
Yeah.
That's just the rules of engagement.
Yeah, that is the ROE.
Right, that's under threat of other nations, other more powerful nations getting involved to stop you, rather than letting y'all just fight it out. You know, now you cross the line. And Israel's been doing that, and they haven't really, you know, the South African government has actually went to the World Court. And I hate that, because the World Court has no power to really enforce anything. They have no real military force. Like every court has police, right? The county court's got the county sheriffs. You know what I'm saying? But in the World Court, there is no military force. It's supposed to be the UN peacekeepers, but they don't do shit in terms of actually stopping conflicts. You know what I mean? So, but South Africa has actually, all the other countries that were doing business with Israel, a lot of them have stopped doing business with them because of the claims of genocide. And South Africa has actually officially accused them of genocide. And Egypt just joined that case where they're accusing them of genocide. And Israeli leaders were having meetings, and it was reported that they were talking about the international criminal courts actually issuing arrest warrants and having a force to send out to arrest them. But I don't know where that's going to go, and I don't know how true that is, and that's why I hate it, because what needs to happen is boots need to get on the ground and stop that shit one way or another, because they're not going to stop. This diplomacy is not working. So after they ordered the people to run to southern Gaza, they made plans to attack southern Gaza, and now currently they're attacking southern Gaza, where all the people that they evacuated from the north that they didn't eliminate are now seeking refuge. And there's videos and pictures and all types of media all over social media from all these different platforms of people in like tent cities getting bombed, apartment buildings.
Hold up, tent cities, like homeless
Yes,
folks. Damn.
I have a slide, bro. I have a slide from one of my last shows. I think it was, if it wasn't the last show I did, it was either the show before that or the show before that. I'm not sure. But I have a still image from one of the videos where they show the place being bombed. It's a tent city, bro. They bombed it. So it's quite obvious at this point that they're not going to stop until all the witnesses are gone, basically.
Yeah.
And it's gotten so bad now that this election is coming up, and people in America, the sentiments are, this is genocide and it needs to stop, and we're not going to support this. So now the Biden administration is hesitant to give the aid because of what they're doing. And now that Netanyahu didn't get his meeting, he didn't get Biden to sign the contracts. He didn't get, you know what I'm saying? He didn't get the agreements and, you know, the plans to convince Congress to vote on it and support it. So now the American government is shaky on supporting them. But the reason why, and if you can screen share, I don't know if you're screen sharing or not, but if you could, go to Google and pull up Ben Gurion, BEN space GURION canal plan, and then click images. All right, the top row, first one from the right. Second from the right. Second from the left side. Yeah, that one. There you
go. Okay.
Is that as big as you can get it?
There we go.
There we go. Beautiful. Perfect. So that red line where it says Suez Canal, that's Egypt to the left of that red line. Saudi Arabia, no, that's not Saudi Arabia. That's part of the Saudi Peninsula, but I'm not sure what country is up in there. I'm not sure. But Israel, where that white line is, just to the left of the red line that says Israel Canal Plan, that's the southern border of Israel. Right there. There you go. And I got to study these maps some more. But
me too.
What's happening is that red line is Israel's canal plan, because they want to build this canal to open up a new shipping lane from Asia to Western Europe. And if they control the canal, that means they control all the transit fees, and every ship that goes through there has to pay them money to get through there. But if you zoom in, if you can, all the way in on where it says Jerusalem, make that as big as possible, because there's a little white outline that I want to show people.
Okay.
All right. Slide to the left.
To the left.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, right there. That's perfect. That's perfect. All right. So right where it says Jerusalem and right along the southern border of Israel, where the Mediterranean Sea is at, you can see a little faint dotted line there, right? That little rectangular shape there. You see that, bro, Sanchez?
You talking about this right here?
No, to the left side. To the left side
Oh,
of
right
the
here, right here, right here.
yes. Yes. Now that is the Gaza Strip. That is a part of Palestine. That is the western part of I think is the western part of Palestine. And on the right side of Israel, there is the West Bank. But anyway, Gaza Strip is a very, very small area and it houses about 2 million people, about 2 million to 2.5 people. And numbers
Man.
probably severely reduced by now. But the northern part of um, that strip is where they attacked first, and the southern part, closer to the border, is where they're attacking now, where they kind of corralled all the people into. So it's obviously an extermination operation. Sound familiar? World War II, wink, wink. Anyway, so this canal plan is kind of deceptive because the way it runs, how it circumvents the Gaza Strip, it goes through private land on the coast of the Mediterranean Sea. That's very expensive land owned by very important people. And in order for the Israeli government to turn that very expensive land owned by very important people into a shipping port, they would have to purchase that land for a very, very high price, a price they probably can't afford. So the real plan is to actually basically demolish the entire Gaza Strip and run the canal right through the Gaza Strip. And that would actually shorten the overall length of the canal, cheapen the cost of the project, and it won't cost nothing but a few thousand bombs to make it happen. And that's where we're at. We're at the few thousand bombs part. Now, with the BRICS nations, right? What's the reason why they're in such a haste to build this canal is because the BRICS nations is doing something monumental. Now, if you know the story about why, the real story about why Saddam Hussein, Muammar Gaddafi, Hosni Mubarak was deposed from power, but he wasn't eliminated. And those other Middle Eastern countries, they got turned up during the Obama administration under the quote unquote Arab Spring. What was actually happening was they were trying to form their own alliance so they could have their own international trade network. And they would use gold-backed currency rather than the fiat US dollar. And if you look in the news now, you see like financial journals like the Watcher Guru, which is a pretty credible one that I like to use. Watcher.guru actually talks a lot about the BRICS nations, and I report on them a lot. And what they're doing is they're switching to the gold-backed currencies and they're dropping the US dollar. And that's important because now those countries that got turned up and those leaders that got killed, they were trying to do that back then, but they were stopped by, instead of using, in some countries they used our military under the Bush administration, and when people got tired of that and Obama came in, they used the proxies like ISIS in the Middle East to do it, to do their dirty work. And that was to remove the governments that were going to go to the gold standard and install puppet governments that were going to, keep the use of the dollar and keep the dollar in power to keep us on top, or keep them on top, I should say. And after Trump came in and made all the peace agreements and those countries made their reforms and got their own people into place, they all decided to start switching to the gold-backed currency and joining the BRICS nations, because the BRICS nations were gaining control of the world's energy supply. And right now, as it stands, the BRICS nations controls over, I think it's over 40% of all the world's energy. That's all the oil in the world that they tell us they have, right? Now, what's important about this is the BRICS are going to create what they call a quantum financial system. And the quantum financial system is going to be a digital currency, but it's not a digital currency created by the central banks. So the CBDC that you hear about is actually like the New World Order counterpart, like the old American, Israeli, European counterpart, the fiat counterpart. But the quantum financial system is going to be based on a gold standard. So every nation is going to have their own currency, but gold is going to be the intrinsic value of the currency. So if in the country, bro Sanchez country, his gold goes $1 an ounce. And in my country, I sell my gold for some other type of currency, 2 rubles an ounce. right? So in reality, my 2 rubles is worth one of Bro Sanchez's dollars. So if we're doing trade for every US dollar that's converted, it has to be converted into 2 rubles to match my currency. So that cash would actually equate to the amount of gold that the nation is holding in its national treasury. So that way there's no printing of any extra money, there's no inflation, and there's actually fair trade, and prices are so reasonable that anybody can, have economic freedom if they so choose. That economic freedom that they lure us into college and shit with, right? That doesn't really exist because it doesn't exist under a fiat currency. Now, because the BRICS nations are switching to a gold backed currency, and Israel, Europe, and the United States, and most of the Western world still uses fiat currency, Egypt is now joining the BRICS. And the significance of Egypt going to a gold standard is because Egypt currently controls the Suez Canal, which is the only shipping lane in the entire world that we know of that connects the trade routes from Asia to Europe. And Egypt has to charge these shipping companies the transit fees to get through that canal. So what's happening now is only nations that deal in gold backed currency, because Egypt deals in gold backed currency, will be able to pay the transit fees to get their ships through that Suez Canal. So how do they keep up with the how does the fiat currency, the Rothschild banking system, which comes from, those people, how do they now compete with this gold backed currency and keep their fiat currency alive? Well, it's very simple. You build your own canal and open your own shipping lane, and you accept the monopoly money, so the countries that still use the monopoly money can still do their international trade and keep their nations alive. But with the gold backed currency and the only shipping lane being controlled by a nation that uses gold backed currency, all the fiat nations now become isolated from the rest of the world market. And if you look at how fast the BRICS alliance is growing, it's actually grown very quickly. And the African nations actually were at the head of this growth, because now that the BRICS have their alliance, they've established their own World Bank, like how we have the World Bank and the IMF that's been extorting Africa. And here's how they were doing it. They were giving countries like nations in Europe and countries like the United States, um, loans to develop the country, build more infrastructure, build more ports, improve the ports, shit like that. And these countries would have to pay those loans back at an interest rate, and based on the interest rate would determine how much your payments are. So the payments were actually doable for the European countries in the US and Canada and other places in the Western world that use fiat currency. So they were able to develop their nations, raise the money to pay their loans back. Thus, their infrastructure remained in their control. Now, with the African nations, they would give those African nations that actually did need the money for development, would they would give them the loans at like 15-20% interest rates. And this was said by a female who was a prime minister of one of those nations. And she was breaking it down, and this is what she said. She said, at that interest rate, there's no way that the country could pay that loan back. So when we default on the loans, what happens is, because of the stipulations in these contracts, they now have to surrender their infrastructure, like their ports and their toll booths, their police stations, their water supplies, their manufacturing plants, their raw land for mining and their mines and all that shit, to the IMF, and in turn to raise the money back that they lost in loaning this African nation the money at such a high interest rate. They would then sell that infrastructure to private companies, and this is how, over the years, all these that what we refer to as colonizers have actually been able to manipulate their way into controlling the resources in these nations. And this is why we have that continent being so rich in natural resources, but the people of that continent being so poor. This is the mechanics of how it's actually done. And now that the BRICS nations have formed their own World Bank, which is called the BRICS Development Bank. The BRICS Development Bank is now giving these people loans, these countries loans, so they could build their nations up, and they're getting that cheap ass interest rate, so they can pay the loans back and still make a profit and actually grow wealth in their country. And this is why we're starting to see all that rapid development. I'm sure if you guys been scrolling a lot on Instagram and shit, you see these beautiful houses in, you know, places of Africa you never thought there would be such beautiful houses. And that's why, because now these nations are getting a fair shot at having a fair trade, international trade market, so they can do business with one another without the Rothschild controlled banking system sticking their hands in their pockets and getting a piece of the pie and essentially stealing their infrastructure with their fiat currency. So this all goes right back to why Israel is doing what they're doing and why they're lying so much about it, and they're so gung-ho about it. And the world is watching, the world is turning their backs on them. They're losing support left and right, so much so that the Democratic Party, that in the last Democratic administration has given them more aid than anybody else, now they're not getting shit, and they have to do it themselves, and it's getting real ugly. And Netanyahu inviting these black folks from the Black Jewish Relations Committee to meet with him was to his plan was to meet with Biden, that is, was to try to form an alliance before they started moving on these people to try to take over that land, and ensure that they will get military funding and military aid from the US, which would make our government complicit in the genocide that's currently happening. But unfortunately for him, it didn't work. And I believe, because of the connections of these people, that these black folks that we established in the beginning of the show, I believe that these specific people were chosen because they were going to help push it in the media and get all the black celebrities to support Israel, because they know that the majority of mainstream America, unfortunately, loves to listen to celebrities. And if they can get the black celebrities to say it, that's going to get the white celebrities in line, because if the white celebrities disagree with the black celebrities, they're going to get blackballed and called racist. So you get the black people on board so they can sell the propaganda, and then everybody else will follow. That's the idea. And that's why this specific group of people were chosen to meet with Netanyahu on September 23rd, because that would have given him at least a couple of weeks for them to go back to America, back to DC, work their magic, and get that meeting with Biden, get that sit down with Joe Biden. And at the same time, get that propaganda out there so the media can use their black puppets to get the rest of America to follow along. So there you have it. That's what the fuck that was about.
Got to drop bombs on that, man. Got to drop bombs on that, yo. So, citizen man,
Yes,
this
sir.
is important for the people, because I mean, this is a receipts on how it's a small little religious sect making decisions for all black people.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny you mentioned that, because I was watching your show with Doe Eyes earlier. It was excellent. And you made that excellent point that we don't really have a black culture. What we have is fads being sold to us by people like these, who are putting out the messaging and getting their subsidiaries to work their magic and get the celebrities to do what they want to do. Because I don't know if you noticed, but every time a black celebrity comes out and gets political, 9 out of 10 times they're siding with the Democratic Party. And that's because all their connections are with this group of people, the Black Congressional Caucus, like your Killer Mikes and your DLGs and all those guys.
Yo,
That's their political lifeline right there.
it's so crazy, because anybody know, if you want to get a message to black folks, you can't go through the Republicans. You gotta go through the damn Democrats, man. I ain't gonna even trip about that. It's like the Democrats got the closest connection to black people, and because of that, they exploited to sell us out instead of really tell the powers what the fuck they people feeling and be our righteous representatives and shit. People in the chat room, the folks you see on this thumbnail here, these are the people Steve Coakley was talking about, y'all. These are the
Bingo.
black folks Steve Coakley was talking about.
Bingo.
I,
And what I just described is the specific role that they play in larger world affairs that can literally affect the outcome of what happens to the entire world. Because if they keep up the fiat currency, guess what? In 10 years, gas is going to be $17 a gallon. And you know what you're going to be making at your job? Probably 2025, if you're
mm.
lucky.
This man Netanyahu is not playing about galvanizing, blacks on his side. I ain't gonna lie though. He really serious about that. He was in Kenya and shit. He's he be all over the place. But listen, citizen man, I don't know how you feel about opening up, callers or whatever, man. You
Oh,
can
hell
do
yeah,
either.
man. Let's,
Yeah,
yeah,
you
let's
could
do it.
do
I'm ready for some questions.
you could do a round table or one at a time. It's up to you. I got a quick
Well,
question for you first, though, real quick.
yeah, I
So,
know you got some questions. So let's handle your questions first and then we'll do a roundtable. How about that?
okay, that sounds like a plan for sure. So, my first question to you is I was listening to you, and then when you said something about ISIS, I was like, oh shit, citizen man. Based on what you said, I was like, so he's not one of the ones that believe the theory that ISIS belonged to America.
No, I do.
Oh, you?
I
Oh,
do.
okay, okay,
Because the
okay.
Obama administration was funding them the whole time. The Air Force pilots actually lost their because they were complaining that the coordinates that they were being given to make these airdrops for weapons was enemy held territory, and they knew it, but they were under orders to do it, so they did it, and they quit. They blew the whistle and they left.
And then
So,
and that's a salute to that thug. Rob says, "Citizen man is killing this shit." Good bill. Thank you for the support, my brother.
I
Um,
appreciate that. Y'all support bro, man. Bro be working hard working
and,
man.
hey, look, I got all the citizen man links in the top of the chat room, y'all. Make sure y'all show him some love too, man, and go over there and sub up and hit up his super chats and stuff. Go to his Rumble. Let me ask you something real quick off the subject real quick.
Yeah.
Your Rumble you promote over your YouTube or equally, or how you prefer to?
I
Mhm.
kind of do it equally because every
Yeah.
time I go live, I'm live on Rumble and YouTube. So
Okay.
as I'm shows, I'm mentioning both all the time. And every show, whether it's on YouTube or Rumble, I promote it. But a funny thing happened the other day. My last show that I did was talking about I had a funny ass thumbnail too. I had one with Trump wearing a do rag and then him with the waves with 360s and the
Yeah.
earpods. But, but it was about the Biden campaign. They actually used one of Kendrick Lamar's diss songs to Drake to put it in one of their
Oh.
campaign videos.
Oh no,
The
man.
pandering, bro. The pandering is insane.
It is.
But
Damn. It's cringe, bro.
it
It's
is. It
fucking
is.
cringe, man.
But
Oh
during
man.
that stream, I actually, started getting into the P files and all that stuff, and they actually flagged my channel and said it violates their child safety policy. So they took the video down, and
Yeah.
because it was my first removal in a long time, they didn't give me a strike or nothing. They let me live. But that video is actually I believe, my second to most recent video from Friday night on
Hmm.
Rumble, and then my most recent video on YouTube is from because the one from last night I ended up taking that one down too because I didn't want them to flag me for that either. But the
Hmm.
last one on YouTube is actually one of my best streams that I did, and it's a flat Earth stream. And if y'all really want to be entertained, y'all go ahead and check that one out over on YouTube, Citizen Man TV.
Your citizen man, if you go to my Twitter, you'll see that I be tweeting your stuff when you live. I may not say that in your chat, but you'll see a lot of your stuff on my
You know
Twitter
what?
page. Yeah.
You know what? I thought you was doing something like that because I started getting a lot of your people showing up in my chat and shit. You know what I'm saying? And that was pretty cool because the numbers, it kind of been growing a little bit now. I'm actually getting a little life back now.
Man,
So I
you did a
appreciate that.
flat earth stream the other day. I ain't typed that in the chat because when I'm in the room watching it, I just be chilling. But bro,
Yeah.
I mean, y'all gotta rock with Citizen. See, Citizen, man, they be thinking he just do political content, man. Listen, he be on
Ah, man, it's
flat
more than
earth and
that.
all that, bro. Yeah, you can talk to him. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to. I started doing a series called Flat Earth Wednesdays. So every Wednesday I do some flat Earth shit, And I don't just do the basic water don't bend, helicopters would land in the city if it hovered and blah blah blah. I don't really do the basic stuff. I've done some of that, but I kind of connect the dots with the master deception from the inception of NASA all the way to the Bible verse printed on Werner von Braun's headstone. And a funny thing that I found out in the last show, Werner von Braun put Psalm 19 on his headstone when he died in 1977, right?
What?
And in 1978, they actually published a new Bible that changed the wording in Psalm 19:1, and it removes the word firmament and replaces it with the word skies. I was like, wow, they actually changed the fucking Bible to hide this
And they
shit.
still changing shit in our time, in real time, bro, and not just the Bible. So that's crazy right there. Yeah, that's crazy as hell. Hey, Citizen Man, I'm not gonna let them on yet because I still got some for you real quick.
Yeah.
So I never really did hear your stance on this. This was about 6 months ago, but it's still relevant to what you were saying, right? Umar Johnson and Tariq Nasheed was basically, they speaking for black people. They big voices for the people. They were saying we shouldn't be drug into the Israel and Palestine conflict. But I just wanted you to clarify, once again, where you stand on black people's relationship with all of this stuff.
I think it just boils down to the small heads that control the media that basically determines our culture, what our culture is going to be.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like what you mentioned on the stream with Doe Eyes, that we don't really have a culture. It's just a set of I'm not sure what you said. If you could remember, like a set of behaviors that are given to us that we
it's
take
more
on.
like we got an indoctrination and we call that a culture. Our indoctrination, basically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I think that's the source of the relations. But as far as the Israel-Palestine war, where I personally stand, I say Israel is dead wrong and something needs to be done about it. And the people of Gaza and Palestine deserve justice. And I also never really was a fan of Israel because of the whole land debacle. And, everybody knows about that. And because this has been this specific group of people, these specific group of Zionist elites have been the origination of the major crime families that we talk about today, from the Rockefellers to the Rothschilds to everybody else, So I've never been in favor, and they're a big pedophile country too. If you look up the S offenders that live there with all the red dots on the map, that you can't even see the map. There's so many red dots. And the home of Jeffrey Epstein, not to mention the blue on his temple is actually the exact same blue as the stripes on their flag, mind you.
I believe, hey bro, I believe Trump gonna be big this next election. I gotta ask you about that, and I ain't gonna even be commenting on this. Yo, whenever I want to do a show about the Trump election and all that's coming up, we can just get you on. I'm gonna be neutral on this joint, bro, because stuff getting crazy, but just a sneak peek into how you think where we at right now, Citizen Man. Because me personally, you may say this a reach, but the Kendrick Lamar and Drake beef is also influencing like the politics shit, to where it's like the pedophile shit is gonna be a big arguing topic in politics, and Trump kind of been made a foundation for himself on the P words and shit. So I'm kind of seeing that might be the people on some real anti-P word, and it's going to be like the representatives who been had their foot on that kind of stuff and trafficking and stuff. Who you think?
Yeah, that's going to be. I think the way that's going to play out is you're not going to hear too much about it in the media, except for in the underground channels like me and yours and other people that ain't mainstream. But the overall sentiment of the people, because the people are now tuning into the alternative media and they're tuning out of the mainstream media in droves. There's just a video the other day of them taking down the sign on the CNN building in Atlanta, so they're shut down.
Damn.
Yeah,
I gotta drop a bomb for that. Hell yeah.
Yeah, so things are definitely changing, and that's because the sentiments of the people are changing, because the people see what's happening, and what you're going to see broadcast in the media is what I call the Baghdad Bob effect, where he says the U.S. military was doing their thunder run through Baghdad, destroying everything in their wake and basically killing everybody with a gun in their hand. And
That's
Baghdad Bob
fact.
was a representative in Iraq, and he was in the media telling the people in other parts of Iraq that we're winning the war and we're decimating the Americans and blah blah blah. So
Oh
what they're
man.
doing right now is they're giving us the Baghdad Bob effect, where none of this is really happening. It's all make believe and it's all bullshit. But because of what Kendrick Lamar did, I predict that he's probably going to get blackballed somehow for that. Drake is going to get elevated and promoted, because the last I heard, and this was just a rumor on social media, was that Drake was depressed and thinking about deleting himself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So
Yeah, I'm sure
it's
you're
like he's gonna play the whole victim route, you know. You hurt
he's gonna
Aubrey, yeah.
he's gonna do the small hat thing, because they are the
Ah, you
experts.
so fucking real. I was just gonna go into how that's kind of a yeah, bro. Talk about
I
that
say
shit.
that. Yeah, I say that because if you look at what's happening with the Palestine war, they're like it's not a war anymore. It's a genocide. And they're still in the media talking about, oh, we have to defend ourselves because of what happened on October 7th. So the
Oh my
burglar
god.
broke into your house. You put the burglar down, and you're gonna just keep shooting, kicking his body
Mm-hmm.
because he broke into your house a month ago. That's pretty much where we're at
Yeah, it
with that.
is, man.
They're steady in the media playing the victim.
That's how this whole country was kind of built on that whole little, you know, we the victims when we the goddamn, you know, colonizers around this mug. I'm using Kendrick word. You ain't a colleague. He's a colonizer, boy.
Yeah, yeah, and that's why through their control of the media and their control of enough players in the political field, they're actually able to make themselves a protected class,
Mm-hmm.
because now you can't say nothing. We can't even the names we dare not say. The
Yes.
people we not mention. That's who they are. The ones we don't speak of.
Yes. I'm gonna let the people on in just a minute. Y'all be patient. Citizen man, I wanted you to go a little bit into this little Jewish group of the Boule, because they all Boule, but I never even knew about this Jewish side, this little Jewish black group or whatever.
Yeah, the Black Jewish Caucus. Well, again, they're Boule. Boule is a part of the secret society organizations, and the Zionists have their own secret society where they pose. Because you see, you have to first make a distinction, right? In Israel right now, the Jewish people, like the average citizens, are actually in protest against what their government is doing. There was actually just a riot a few days ago that I reported on. So things are getting crazy, and that's because and there's a lot of orthodox guys that wear the top hats and the curly sideburns and stuff,
Uh-huh.
and they stand in the streets, and these are old men, young men alike, and they yell at the police and say, you Zionists, you're not Jewish, you Zionists are not Jewish, and the police would actually get out the cars and like beat them up and shit. So there's a
Mm.
lot of turmoil and distrust going on within the country. And I believe that these events is going to take down that Zionist government, but it's going to come from within Israel itself. But that's another story. But the distinction is the Jewish people as a whole are not represented by what I call the Zionist regime, which is the actual government powers, Netanyahu and his forces. And these Zionists have not only conquered Israel and made themselves, the heads of the Jewish people, basically, the elites of the Jewish people, but they have a strong foothold in Europe because they've moved into Europe years ago after the Khazarian Empire was dissolved and they had to flee to other parts of the world. They ended up in the Middle East, they ended up in Europe, they ended up in North America, they ended up in South America, they ended up in the Caribbean, and this is how all these networks of fiat currency and fractional reserve banking and slavery and international trade and all that. This is where all this shit came from. This specific group of people. Now, if you go into the history of the Khazarian mafia, it all started with the Russians, the Russian Tsar, going to war with them because they were the original highway robbers. They were the ones that would attack people passing through their country, and then they would steal all their shit and then go to wherever that person was going and pretend to be that person. So they were masters of infiltration. And this is how they were able to gain control of everything and get themselves established in all these different places. And now what we have today is their entire banking system and their entire network that allows them to have control of the entire world, or at least the entire world economy, which allows them control of the media, trade, the food. That's why it's being poisoned. The government. That's why the government is constantly working against the people. Their reason to get in control, or their ability to control these networks, is what got us in this situation now, and what's happening with the BRICS nations, because the Russians been knew about these people and been knew who they were. And during the Trump administration, if you go back to actually during the Biden administration in 2022, that's when Russia attacked Ukraine. And who was running Ukraine at that time was the Nazis that Obama funded to take over the government, execute the parliament, kick the elected president out, and install Poroshenko, I think his name is. Viktor Poroshenko, if I'm not mistaken. And he became the president of Ukraine, and then he just got he left office, and then another puppet came in, and ever since then Ukraine has been under that puppet control. And this is where the rumors about Obama having the funding the biolabs in China and in Ukraine, and the also the organ trafficking trade was big in Ukraine too, and because the adoption laws are so lax that all the hospital needs is a letter from the parents saying give the baby to this person, and that person goes with the letter and they get the baby. So how many letters were they fabricating, right? But the Russian military reported finding buildings where they had children alive on the first floor, and they would take the children upstairs and they would delete them like cattle and harvest them. And not only that, but they also found the bioweapons labs where they were cooking up the JAB. And these labs were all over Ukraine. There was a bunch of them in China that got busted up. And there was a bunch of them in Europe and a few in Africa that got busted up. And this is where the rumors of what were they saying? The terrorist groups in Africa attacking these medical facilities. That's where those stories came from. It was actually local militias shutting down those biolabs where they were cooking up the JAB, because that's how they were able to, from the time Trump allowed them to funded them to start producing it in I think it was late 2021 or late 2020. By the end of 2021, they had 30 billion doses already cooked up. And the only way that would have been possible is if they were cooking it up in multiple labs at the same time. It couldn't all come from one or two labs. But the only thing you ever heard about in the news was what? Wuhan, the Wuhan lab.
Bro, I remember when I was talking about that JAB, and they, before they even gave it to anybody, they already had like so many freaking, like, was it hundred thousands of millions stored up already? I think that's what you going into. That was crazy, man.
Yeah. And this all goes back to that same group of small ads, because they're the ones that control the major pharmaceutical companies, and they were the ones making the profit off of selling it to the governments, and the governments forcing it on the people. Now, because Russia made that move, that indicated to me, I thought all the way back to the Khazarian mafia, who started these whole operations so many centuries ago, and the history with Russia and that specific group of people. Then I looked at the operations in Ukraine and the specific group of people they put in power in Ukraine, and everything seems to fit. To me, all the pieces of the puzzle are there. You know what I'm saying? So Russia had already made their move against them, and now the Middle Eastern countries are going to be making their move against them, and the BRICS nations are going to be making their moves against them by isolating them in the trade markets. And now they're desperately trying to get their canal built so they can open up their trade routes so they can continue their market. And they need the American government to get on board because they need the American people to get on board because an election is coming up and they want to get people in office. And this is not by the American people. I don't mean the actual voters, but rather the people counting the votes who are conducting all the election fraud to make sure the puppets get in, because they're the people who really matter in elections. Those are the people they're trying to reach with their messaging and get them to go along with the operations, because the black voters or the black people that are involved in politics are are the ones running the major cities where they have the biggest elections, like Philadelphia, New York, Detroit, Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? And those are major key points where they have to get their puppets and their players in place, because these are major points of influence in the United States. And that's why he went to the Congressional Black Caucus to try to make it happen, because they knew what they were planning, because they saw what was happening with the rest of the world, and they knew if they got isolated and cut off from the markets, they too would be under siege and not have food and supplies to feed their people, because they wouldn't be able to import shit.
Citizen man,
Yes, sir.
you really going in, man. And I ain't gonna lie, when I listen to you do your thing, bro, it's like
Yeah.
the feeling people get when they listen. It's like this is the kind of consciousness shit that I came up with, man. And what I be tripping off is a lot of people in my chat room be like, I just can't do politics. And I think a lot of the deep shit you say kind of get swept under the rug just because your name's Citizen, man, and they know you in the politics. Because
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I can give what you do a different name for people, and I want to know if you agree with it. I would call what you do, if they don't want to use politics, resources science, and I would also call it like when we say we all be in control, the science
Yeah.
of who controlling us and how. Also the science of corruption in very high places of government, such as trafficking and
Yeah.
like I want you to take a minute, bro, and take your time, and please take your time and let the people know what you do, but don't even make it on no political shit. Like, let them know how deep the rabbit hole go with just it. You know what I'm saying? Like the kind of
Yeah.
shit, we done got videos took off. You done got more took off than me, like, yeah, man,
Man, man, listen. Well, what I do, right, is I'm actually working on two fronts. I'm like the coin. I'm two-sided, where I'm bringing the quote unquote conspiracy theorist slash patriot groups to the table with the conscious community, is where I see myself, right? And not on some political shit, but really on getting the people on the same page type shit, because the same enemies that we're looking at on the political side is the same enemies that we're looking at on the conscious side, because it's a multi-front war. There's the physical war, the financial war, and the spiritual war. And if we only focus on one, we'll lose on the other two fronts. You know what I'm saying? So it has to be a holistic approach. So what I do is I connect the dots between the politics and the people behind the politics, the people pulling the strings and making moves and making shit happen and altering the destiny of the entire world for humanity, so to speak. More like the mechanics, like I would call it political mechanics, which is breaking down how the mechanism behind the faces we see in politics actually works, which would actually allow us to understand why they're doing what they're doing. What is the reasoning? What is the motive behind them doing what they're doing? And in understanding that motive, we would it'll actually be easier for us to get our message across to the normies who have no idea that any of this is even happening and just believe everything they see on TV. Because part of what they see on TV is, don't listen to people like me. Don't listen to people like Bro Sanchez, because they crazy. They're kooks. This ain't what's happening. They're conspiracy theorists. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
what I try to do is take a holistic approach to the conscious slash spiritual side of things and tie it into the mechanical side of things so we can actually see the full image behind the political picture, because what we see is two-dimensional. We see the Democrats versus the Republicans, and we think it's all bullshit and they're all on the same side. But what we don't see is who is actually behind all of this. And what we don't understand is how they specifically operate their system. And in understanding how they specifically operate their system, that then allows us to spot the actual representatives of the people who happen to be working within that system. The people who are on our side but happen to have government jobs. The people who are on our side but are tied to corporations that are not on our side, so they got to keep their mouth shut because they know if they lose their job, nobody's going to support them if they go independent and, you know, start spilling the beans type of shit. So there's a lot of people that are trapped in the system that out for, you know, I would have to say that put themselves there, but now they're trapped in a system where their hands are tied because they know that the people who should be supporting them aren't even paying attention to what's happening. You know what I mean? I always
Mm-hmm.
say this, there's 435 members of Congress, but for even the best of us involved in politics, we could probably only name 20 to 50 at best, and that's being generous.
You
So,
man, you know what? That's being hella generous.
right. So that means that there's so many hundreds of players involved in this game that we're not even aware of, that we're not even paying attention to, that how would we even begin to understand the larger players behind them? Because we didn't, and all we knew, I didn't even know that there was a Black Jewish caucus until you posted that shit and I went and looked it up.
I didn't know either.
Right. But they've been there this whole fucking time. You see what
Whole
I'm saying?
time.
And they've been pulling the strings. And the whole time we've been talking about the puppets on the strings and assuming who the puppet masters were. Now we know who the real puppet masters are. We knew they were Boule. We knew they had to be, you know, influential Black people because that's who controls Black people, right? But who
Mm-hmm.
are they? Who are the people cutting the checks? Who are the people making the deals? Who are the people writing the legislation, making the laws
Yeah.
that these larger players behind the scene want them to make? Because the majority of their lawmaking determines what they do with our tax money. If you go through all the congressional bills, the smallest percentage of those bills are actual laws against us. The majority of those bills are appropriations bills where they're deciding what to fund with our tax money. And a large portion, too large of a portion of those bills amount to them giving our money in the form of foreign aid to other countries. So our wealth is being
Mm-mm-mm.
extracted. We're being taxed to the hilt to fund these funding programs.
Citizen man, you know what I don't get? People will be on YouTube all day, all night talking about immigrants coming over to take what's ours and take our resources and benefits, but they never look at how much money is being funded overseas, like what you was just saying. If you would compare them, will it be like peanuts to doggone? Like, how would you compare this thing while we all bent up and shaped about, like, you know,
Well,
immigrant? Yeah.
if you go back and you consider um if we're talking about just aid packages, just bills where money is being distributed to this group of people, and you look at how many times or how much money the federal government has allotted for we, the American taxpayers, and how much money they've allotted in the form of foreign aid, that includes the value of the military equipment that they give them, which is the majority of what they give Israel, by the way.
Yeah.
That number far outweighs the amount of money they've given back to us. Far outweighs it by, I would say, by a large margin. And if they were to cut off that funding, some economists, I'm not, this is not me saying this is me quoting people who actually run the numbers. Most economists agree, who are actually honest, would agree that if they were to cut off 100% of all foreign aid and kept all that money here, that means not producing all these, spending money to produce all this expensive military equipment just to give it to Israel, the government would actually be able to operate exactly the way that it's operating with about 50% of the tax revenue that they're taking from us currently. That means how much ever money they take out of your check when you get paid at your job, half of that would actually go back to you. So if you make, you know, $2,000 a week and they're taking 250 out your check or 300 out your check, they'll only need to take 150, which is not perfect because they're still taking your money, but they're not taking all your money. Now, if we can cut that number down even more now and go through all these social programs that they fund, and now including the migrants, you know, that number that they would need to operate on would be even smaller than what they're, you know, than the 50%. Which in the eyes of many people, I would say is actually a reasonable amount. And if in return I get good schools that can actually educate and not indoctrinate my children, working roads, a fire department to call if my neighbor's house catches on fire, police to call if I got to put down a burglar and somebody needs to come clean this shit up, you know, like, and if you're actually getting real service at a reasonable price where you can live comfortably and not have to, you know, pinch pennies or struggle, or there will be no such thing as poverty kind of shit, I think everybody would be fine with that. But because it's gotten to such an extreme now, I think we're having like a pendulum effect where people are like, nah, I don't want none of this. This is terrible. And I fully understand that. And I empathize with that. It's just my approach when it comes to that is it's not a cancer that we could just go in and cut out, but it's more like it's an inoperable cancer that you can't just go in and cut out, but through incremental treatment, eventually you can shrink it down to where it's no longer detectable. Because there's some countries in the world, these little small countries in the world that actually have non-corrupt functioning governments, and the people live quite happy and quite well.
Yeah, I think
you never hear about these places because they don't want us to have a model of what that would look like.
Exactly. Because citizen man, what was that European country? Was it Finland? They just basically took over their government. Is by
Iceland.
Iceland, yeah. They didn't see, that's a good model too. I know everybody, welcome to the call. T. Wriggles, Sacred No Lodge, Rabbit Man, Chris. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna let you you know, start responding to the callers, and I'm gonna drop the link again. For sure, thank you. I'm gonna say this to the chat room, man. Cause I got some heat in the chat. Michael Letts, I want you to click the link. When you say stop worrying about politics, part of the flat earth debate is a political topic. When you start talking about how much they're funding the space program, you're now talking politics. I had to quit saying fuck politics because a lot of my content was bleeding into the political aspect of the space program. So I mean, yes, right.
Greetings, everyone. Hi, bro. Hi, Sanchez.
What's good, Reverend man?
Everything's good, bro. I'm just watching the show, enjoying the show at the moment. Listen, what I've got to say to you, you have to research into Emphasis. Citizen Men, you have to research into Emphasis. Emphasis is owned by Rishi Sunak's father-in-law. You see, it's you see all these people, they have the Antarctic Treaty in place, but they're fighting wars. It's all a lie. It's all a scam. It's all a Freemasonic secret society playbook that we're going by. We're playing to their script.
Well, my brother, I have to agree with you, but I do disagree with you on one point, and that is all of them. Because if you actually look up the Antarctic Treaty, there is a very significant number of countries, very powerful military countries in the Antarctic Treaty, but it's not every country on Earth. You know what I'm saying? So the overall point that I'm trying to share is there are other people out there like us that are governing themselves, but we don't hear about them, and we're all separated from each other because they don't want us to know that we're not alone. They want us to feel isolated, and we're just this little small group that exists in these little spots around the world. But we have entire nations out there that we don't know about, that we don't hear about.
Name one. Name one.
Senegal.
Senegal. Oh,
Yes.
my parents are from, I'm from an African heritage. My parents come from Mauritius. I've spent 21 years in Mauritius. I know about the African problem. The African problem is still the colonizers' problem. You see, we're still being colonized in Africa, including Mauritius and everything. You know, we've got all these structures built around us that we can't make any progress. Only the rich richer, just like in America, country, only the rich, just like in UK where I'm born and bred. You know, everything is the rich man's game. You just get on by, you just get on, you just live, you just survive.
Yeah, but the best way, if you're under siege by an enemy, if you're under attack, constant attack by an enemy, and you have to survive, understanding the way they're attacking you will allow you to maneuver better. Like if you're in a fight with somebody and I'm throwing punches at you, you can't duck the punches if you close your eyes and ignore the fact that I'm punching you. But if you look straight at it and see how I'm coming at you and what technique I'm using, that will allow you to dodge that and defend yourself. So what I teach is
you have to know thy enemy. You have to know.
There you go. There you go.
The enemy is all the secret society.
Right. So in essence, I don't disagree with you, man. I don't. I totally agree with you. I guess I just have a different approach. I have everything about those
societies.
Say what? Say that one more time. My bad. I couldn't hear you.
On my parents' side, on my mom's side, on my dad's side, they're very high-ranking Masons. So I know everything from the age of 5 when I went to Mauritius to spend time. I spent from the age of 5 to the age of 13 in Mauritius. So my formative years were actually in Africa. Even though I'm born in England and I'm born and bred Londoner, everybody in London knows me.
Let me ask you. Well, since you have that knowledge, I'd like to ask you a question because, you know, we hear about these tribes in Africa within these small nations that don't have, you know, any contact or very little contact with the outside world, and for the most part, they're not colonized. Are you saying that? Are you saying that some way, somehow they all are, or can you confirm that these groups exist?
Okay, can I elaborate? Can I explain to you what's happening? You see, all these African countries, they're all centralized. Okay, when you've got centralized government, it doesn't matter what the tribes are doing. It's, you know, who's got hold of the resources. All the major resources. You see, I've even told this to Bro Sanchez about 8-9 years ago. Angola, the country called Angola in Africa, has a nuclear power plant the size of London.
Yeah, that's because that was owned by the IMF and it was sold to the company that built it.
That was before I'm talking the antiquity world.
Because of those world government.
Stop. Listen to me. You're not listening to what I'm saying. Stop talking. Listen. I'm telling you. I don't listen.
I'm explaining how that plant got there. What's wrong with knowing how that plant got there?
No. Can I explain to you something? Stop talking.
You can't just scream colonizer and expect to get your point.
You're talking over me.
Because if somebody wants to listen to me and they ask you how did these colonizers do it, they didn't go in there swinging rifles and machetes and took over the place. They bought it out.
You're talking over me. Can you just wait a minute and hold your breath? Take a deep breath and listen to what I'm saying. This power plant I'm talking, built by the colonizers. I'm talking these are built by our ancestors. Are you understanding?
A power plant?
Do you comprehend what I'm saying? You got to go and research. I am from Africa. And listen, let me finish. Angola is one of the biggest nuclear power plant, not made by the modern men, but by the ancient men. The size of London, one power plant.
Is it still functional? Is it still operational?
Of course it's not functioning, brother. Of course it's not functioning. It's an antiquity, I told you.
Well, look, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to give Citizen Man, I'm going to give you the host for a minute so you can run the calls because I'm gonna let more people on. And if you want to mute people and all that, like this your show. You know what I'm saying?
No, but you
All
see,
I'm
right,
just saying, bro. You got the host joint now. Cause it was kind of getting out of hand.
citizen man, all I'm
yeah, my
saying,
bad. That's
the
my bad. I
colonizers
wasn't really
came
listening to the
afterwards.
brother. My fault. Go ahead, man. You got
The
it.
colonizers came afterwards, citizen man.
Understood. So who controls the
After the
land
reset,
where that?
you see, after
Okay,
the reset, the secret societies, they
yeah,
came in and they fooled us, they've hoodwinked us into
I
believing their
agree.
shit.
I agree with you 1,000%. Who controls the land where that plant sits now? Who's in charge of that? Like, is it just
Uh,
open land that anybody can go to, or is it like private land?
reset, no, it's some colonizer. I don't know who, but privately owned. The
Oh,
whole
okay.
land privately owned by somebody in Netherlands or something.
Hey guys, can I just say something real quick? One way that they control us and they colonize us or whatever, and that I don't hear people talking about enough is there should be free food growing everywhere.
Bingo.
They got us
Everywhere.
in a situation where we're so ignorant that we think we can starve to death. When all you gotta do is plant a seed in the ground, it grows for free. So they've taken away our food. That's why the word fool and food sound the same. The L at the end stands for Lucifer. The D at the end stands for devil, because the government has totally they control us. They subjugated us through controlling our food. Food should be grown everywhere.
Yep, they destroyed the land. They polluted the soil so they could limit the areas where the land could be grown, so they could have enough that they can control. But boom.
And
Because
they made us think the
the
animals
sad
are
thing
food
is,
too.
yeah, because the sad thing is, there's a lot of places where you plant a seed and nothing to grow, because the ground ain't no good.
They're putting
Yeah, but
aluminium
with the
through all the
technology we got, we can easily solve those problems.
And that's
But they
why they
want to
suppress it.
depopulate. That's what you don't understand. That's what you've got to get in your all your heads. That the problem is they want to depopulate us so that they can better control us.
And the way they fooled us into thinking that all this processed foods and crap is food, because the only real food is fruits and vegetables. That's the only real food. Everything else is garbage, and the body doesn't even recognize it. It treats it like a foreign substance. You get all this mucus and shit. Food and fruits and vegetables, that's food for humans.
And that's what the GMOs is about. The GMOs is to phase out all the organic stuff so they control how it grows and what grows. Because if you got fruits with no seed, you can't plant them.
They weaponized the fruits and vegetables. Yep, they did. It's all about population control, health, and hurting our health.
You see, if you eat natural, you live to 200 years.
Let me say something real quick. It might be people in the waiting room. I'm gonna be dropping the call link throughout the show.
Yeah, we got a
salutes
bunch of people on the
salutes
panel
to
right now.
everyone. So salutes to everyone, and
Salute.
shouts out to you, bro, for bringing the heavy hitter citizen man on to the show, man. This is no joke today, and I want to thank Citizen Man for, because I don't do politics either, but you made me switch my mind on certain things, you know, because these politicians are writing the policy, so I engaged more. So I really do thank you for helping with me, that Citizen Man. One question.
Yes,
Most of the land in Gaza, there's a man called Murti from India. It's Rishi Sunak, Britain's Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. His father-in-law owns most of the land in Gaza. He bought out all the land in Gaza. So they have to bomb it. They have to carpet bomb the whole of Palestine so that they can build the canal. I've been saying this for over 2 years. I've seen the blueprints of that. I'm a journalist.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that knows, bro. Thank you for actually looking into it. Because there's not many people that know about that.
No, but I've been, you know, they've cancelled 14 channels of mine, 2 Facebook and 14 Facebook channels of mine. That's why I've stopped. I've given up. So I just do very light stuff now.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, man. I had to bounce over to Rumble because I'm on my 16th YouTube channel right now. So I feel you on that. I hear you. And that's the
Yeah,
stuff
that's
they don't want
crazy.
people to know. They don't want
Yeah,
nobody to know.
that's true.
No, but it breaks, you know, morally, you know, in your head, it breaks you down. You've done so much work, you've done so much, you know, and you've got no backup. So you don't give up, but you just say, give me a break. Do you understand?
Yeah, you can't enjoy life no more. You
Especially when
watch
you
the
got too much
movies,
on
you
your
see the propaganda, you watch TV and try to entertain yourself. You see nothing but propaganda. You try to go out, you see the trans gentlemen and the masked zombies. And you're like, oh my God, what the fuck did I do? Like, I wish I was in ignorant bliss. Like, I wish I did. I know too much, so I can't enjoy shit anymore.
I
You
heard
know.
that.
TV.
Big man.
Hey, brother
But hold
Chris,
on, Chris. Hold on, Chris. I got a
brother Chris,
question. I got a question
if he
for
can hold
Citizen
on
Man.
for a second and we can pass the
I
mic
don't
around.
do that in your question.
So Citizen Man, I got two questions. Number one, have you heard anything more about the tunnels that are that the J people were doing in New York? Have you
I
got
haven't
any
I haven't
updates?
heard I haven't heard anything else about the tunnels other than what I reported, and I'm sure you've seen it that they expand out into much older tunnels. There's a whole kind of temple down there that's like a church thing. There's a nursery. There's recording equipment, mattresses. You know, like a bunch of weird stuff.
Yeah.
And one Jewish guy from that town was actually saying that the tunnels, and I have the Instagram video. I'm gonna have to share it. He was saying that that's one side of the tunnel system, but on the other side, it's much older and it's much worse down there. So I don't know what he meant by that, but I can give you a pretty good guess. And the latest that I actually heard about the whole tunnel story in general is over in Gaza. There was a UN building there in Gaza, and the Israeli military claims that they found tunnels under there and that there's an entire tunnel system under Gaza. But it could be that they put those tunnels there so they could run their operations and send assassins in and out of Gaza when they need to snatch people, because that's what those tunnels are for, moving people around. But that's all I heard about the tunnels, T. Riggles.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because thank you again, because you made me research. There's a Getty's Museum out here in LA that you told me about the tunnels, and I researched that. It's mind blowing that
Yeah, it's pretty
there's
dope.
actually tunnels that are out here that are saying doing a thing. And my second question is just for confirmation: is there really a military operation going on, as you were saying with Trump? Could you elaborate more on that? Because that when you spoke about that, I had to sit back and do some serious thinking. Could you tell the people about this operation that you've kind of uncovered?
Well, it all started with hearing multiple news stories about these trafficking busts where large numbers of people, like significantly large numbers of people, were being arrested, and unusually large numbers of victims were being quote unquote rescued. And these stories were coming from all around the world. And it led me back to the executive orders that Trump signed about pertaining to crimes against humanity, which that would fall under. And I started to look at the task forces and how they were set up. And the way it started was with Space Force. Space Force was officially announced in 2020, but they've been operational since 2018. And I know this because the pattern to me has been established with Operation Cybercom, which was actually monitoring election fraud to see who's really behind it. And they announced themselves in 2018, but they had started in 2016. So there you have what they call a 2-year delta in military jargon. And that 2-year delta, if you apply it to Space Force, the timelines match up with the reports of the human trafficking busts and the estimated time that Space Force would have went functional. And decoding Space Force, I discovered that it pertains to the space they're referring to, pertains to cyberspace, not actual outer space. And as a flat earther, when I heard Space Force, personally, I believe that Trump knows about flat Earth because one of his lawyers publicly came out as a flat earther. And this lawyer is a pretty credible person in my eyes. But that's beside the point. But as a flat earther, I was able to decipher that because people who believe in space wouldn't even think to look that way. You know what I'm saying? So I looked at the Wikipedia page and I used the decode that I learned from studying Q. And based on that decode, what was listed, I've shown the slide plenty of times on my show. So if you guys want to see it, just come watch the show. I'll share it with you. But using that decode, I was able to decipher what their role was. On the section that says role, it says, space this, space that, combat this, information that, da 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 da. But when you take the first word of every line, it says space logistics, space operations, space combat, information space. So that led me to believe that it had to do with the internet. And around the time they went operational, part of their operation is to work on the internet, busting, traffickers. And the task forces were set up where Space Force would report to the federal agencies. The federal agencies would then report to the local police departments that were not ran by Soros appointed infiltrators or Soros funded infiltrators. And we all know about George Soros. He was one of the main funders of getting these puppets into place. And these specific jurisdictions where these people operate, like that Sheriff Grady Judd that be making them funny ass videos and shit. Well, not funny videos, but he's funny at the press conferences talking about shooting burglars and all that. That's my dude. Like in counties like that, you start seeing these stories because they're working with the agents within the federal government who are not involved in the trafficking and actually want to put a stop to it, because not everybody is in on it. Only the people at the very top, you can say everybody's in on it. But the people, the rank and file people that go to work and punch the clock every day, not all of them are with it. The majority of them are there because they actually wanted to make a difference and they didn't realize how fucked up it was until they got in and can't get out. That's the story for a lot of people. Any cop on the street in a corrupt city would tell you that. Some of us probably have people like that in our family that work for the local government and they know it's full of shit, but what can they do? It's their job. So these people have their own network set up and Space Force is doing all the reporting. And even after 2020, when Trump left office and Biden took over, for some reason, these operations continued. When Biden signed all those executive orders to undo what Trump did in his administration, to, kind of put us on the course that we've been on now, he never undid the executive orders against the human trafficking. And that's partly because, and we've seen the Biden dupe pictures where it's not really Biden. It hasn't been him for a while. So something's going on behind the scenes, but that's a whole different story. But the military is operating separately through Space Force and they're giving the orders. There's a thing called the Special Operations Joint Command. Bro Sanchez, I think you might be familiar with that if you're still here.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, you're
but
not.
My
here.
mic muted.
It's called the Special Operations Joint Command.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it. My mic was muted.
Yeah, and I actually did a report on that, and it actually describes how the hierarchy works, where the military calls the shots, and even the local police would actually fall in line and work with them. And because these operations are still going on, that leads me to believe that if Trump is still behind the scenes as the actual commander in chief running the military while the Biden show is happening on the other side, and we're seeing this political circus that we're having, or the military is just simply operating separately in that specific aspect, disregarding the Biden administration, whatever the case may be, these operations that Trump initiated are still continuing. And they're happening all around the world. And that's what the peace deals and all his meetings with these world leaders was about.
Question, citizen man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's in me. I trust. Peace to everybody.
Peace,
so,
bro.
yeah, okay, so with the Space Force, have we seen any work from the Space Force since it's been implemented since Donald Trump? Like, have they ever taken in fully active of anything that's going on in
I
the world?
I don't believe they're hands-on. I don't believe that they're hands-on, but when we see because we've all seen the To Catch a Predator shows and all that shit. Well, there's local police departments that run operations like that of their own routinely, and every operation is always based off of intel that they get from above, and above meaning the military, Space Force, by way of the federal agents who are to report to them and give them their instructions.
Right.
Or
So
the
that brings,
DoD agents.
so look, that brings me to when the time where we had allegedly China sending these balloons over here in our space, in our area, right? Which we call our space. So I would thought that, you know, we'll see something from them. Because what I'm seeing here is like what you were saying, how deep Space Force is, and like how deep it goes, where a lot of us really is, and look at it to the extent that when we dealing with space, we talk about mastering the elements, right? The atoms. And so therefore, if you know, you, I, nature, we all part of existence in space, then you know there's a whole lot we have to look at that into more than just it being some type of military strategy. That's all I
Well,
want to
I
say on
think,
that.
well, I kind of have a different opinion on the balloon thing. I think that nothing was really done about that balloon until, you know, it was quote unquote too late, because it wasn't a spy balloon at all, but rather one of the NASA satellite balloons that just lost altitude.
Mhm. Okay.
And they had to play it off like it was something else because people saw it and they reported it. So now it becomes something major. So we got to make it something major. Oh, Chinese spy balloon. Because they dare not say it's a NASA balloon satellite, because that'll just prove the flat earthers right. That's what I think it is. I think that was some flat earth shit.
Yeah, I just wanted to add one more thing. Earlier, when we were talking about politics, oh, it's most definitely necessary that we understand in politics. We got to remember there was a slogan that was said here in this country, and that was, especially on the workforce, and y'all know what that is, probably where I'm going with it. Two things you don't talk about, and what was that? Religion and politics. That was actually a slogan that was embedded in the minds of the public, of American public people. And so therefore, coming up, everybody knew, you know, you're not going to talk about politics, but you got to understand, if we religious, or those who are of religious, and you dealing with high places and powers that you ordinary ain't dealing with or can't touch every day, we got to understand that definitely, if you want to have any dealings or remedy matters, you have to get with the political aspect of our existence. That's all I want to
Yeah,
say.
what it boils down to, is this, and I heard Bro Sanchez say this on the Flat Earth stream, but this applies across the board. We can't create an echo chamber and trap ourselves in the echo chamber. So our mission has to be to get everybody else, or as many people around us in our immediate circle and, you know, and outward, to understand what we understand, so we all can be on the same level as far as spiritual awakeness. But in understanding the spiritual awakeness, you have to understand how it affects the physical, right? Being the politics and all that shit. And the thing, and I see a roadblock where we hit as truthers, where we try to get people who aren't awake to wake up and get them to understand, but then they start to ask us questions that we ourselves don't really understand. So how can we get them to understand unless we fully understand? And you can't fully understand until you look at all three fronts of the war: the financial, the political, the spiritual.
That's peace.
The
That's peace.
financial and the political are basically
The health too.
Anybody? Go ahead.
All right,
true.
I got my
Can you hear
last
me?
I got my last question.
I think that's sacred knowledge. Want
Oh,
to
go
say
ahead,
something?
My bad. I was trying to add the health too. They got us with the health because they keep us all so unable to be at our peak health. So and then we feel like, you know, if the food supply hits the food supply and hurts the food supply, we're totally at the government's you know, beck and call, like whatever they say is going to go, because when you're starving, you'll do whatever they say. So
And
that's why we
I
need to
think
look.
the health, I would agree with you. And I think the health aspect would fall under spiritual, because in order to kill you spiritually, they have to kill you physically first, like destroy
Definitely,
your health. You know,
Right.
when
That's why
definitely.
my
people
health
come
is
down with
created.
terminal illnesses, the first thing that happens is they fall into depression. And that depression, you know, why would you care about being in this world? Why would you care about what's happening to, you know, the future generations of
Exactly.
humanity? What, you know what I'm saying? They kill your
It's
spirit by killing your health.
It's
Fact.
very very
That's what we
spiritual,
know
very
about
spiritual.
as well. Yeah.
Well, what's behind it is very spiritual. Exactly.
I just want to bring
Let
up
me
another
ask him. Let me ask him this. Let me
okay
ask him this real quick. First of all, mic check. Can y'all hear me?
question. Everything. Go ahead.
Yeah, you good. You
Yeah.
good.
Peace, man. It's been a minute. Yeah, citizen man. I wanted to ask you this because I think it's like a three-part question. Do you think that the powers that be control every elements of our everyday life as of right now today?
Good question.
I think they control enough of it to where the freedom that we do have doesn't compare to the amount of control that they have.
Right.
Like
Okay.
everybody, like you own your own plot of land, so you can pretty much build what you want, plant what you want, but there's always going to be somebody that can come and say, no, you can't do that. You know what I'm saying? So there is like you can, but you can, if you do it on a small scale and you limit yourself and you don't get detected, then you get away with it. But once you get too big, so you have freedom, but it's so limited that if you use too much of it, you're going to get stopped. You know what I mean? So it doesn't compare to the oppression. You understand what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah, I got you. So my next question would be, if even if yeah, okay, let's say that is the case, that means that wouldn't you agree that they already beat us and we're just basically pretending like there's a way out and we're selling false hope? Because if they control the food supply, they control the land, they control the air, they control the airwaves, they control the water, the sea, they control everything. If they control all of this shit, how do you beat them and try to get all of that back? How?
This is man,
Can I?
this is gonna blow your mind, Dreads. By waking the people up is how you do it. Because remember, they only have this control because they have people in place that are
Mm,
doing their bidding. You know what I'm saying? But if it was to the point where they couldn't find people to sell out, like people were spiritually enough awake to know I'm not gonna do this. Like all those rappers decided that, you know what, fuck what this label says. I'm gonna rap about what I want to rap about because people know me and they love me, and they weren't other people behind the scenes that were willing to carry out the execution of this person because they made that decision, then they wouldn't have any power. But their power comes from our capitulation. And our capitulation
mhm.
mostly comes from us being asleep. And by us, I mean the people as a whole. You get what I'm saying?
All right. Yeah, absolutely. Appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
Oh, can I
I
add? Can I piggyback on that? I'm gonna add on to that. Like, also, I'm in the like now understanding how if I'm the cosmic deity, if I'm sovereign, if I'm self-lord and master, then I'm taking anything that's being done and I'm like the Frankenstein. That's all you do with it. You be the Frankenstein in the laboratory going wrong, the experiment going wrong, and they know that. That's why they. Well, I ain't gonna like to say they, but this is a known thing because when on Earth, on the third rail or third dimension, we call it, it's like a cat and mouse game. So as you know, you pick your poison while you're here. The whole idea is basically for us to get here, have an experiment. I mean, an experience. I don't really. I stopped taking it so deep and looking at it like there's an entity after me. Somebody don't want me to exist. Yeah, remember we live by trial and error. Some people, some cultures, some nations, some animals, even kingdoms. You have to what we call extinct just to reincarnate into another different degree so that something else can flourish and come up. And I think Sanchez did a good job when breaking that down too, how the ecosystem, or which you citizen man, both of y'all,
Yeah.
but like that's basically how we combat that. That was a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a superb question.
Yes, sir.
Question everything. I got a surface level question for you, citizen man. How do you feel about Vivek, the Swami dude? What's your take on him?
I don't know too much about him, so I really can't comment on him. And I don't want to be unfair.
I think that like with me, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm to the point where it's like We had for so many years of fighting, so many years of so-called truth speaking and truth telling and people trying to wake up the masses. And we could go all the way back at least 60 years ago, or probably even longer than that. And when you start analyzing how far we move forward and see that we haven't moved that far forward, that means something is not working, man. And something is not, to me, something is not adding up. Because because when I see a problem and I act on that problem, it tends to fixes the problem immediately. We've been acting on a problem for well over 60 years and the problem still exists. That means something is eerily wrong, man. And I don't think people are really realizing how bad this stuff is. It's way beyond what we think it is, because if we was all the way on the right track, there is no way that it would take 60 plus years to fix this problem. That's a reality. So if Trump is on our side, or he's doing some undercover, secret agent 007 missions and shit, he's doing a damn shitty job at it, because while he's doing that, people are still suffering right now. So I don't know what we got to do to try to fix this problem, but I do know that one thing is for certain. Whatever we are doing as a collective right now, claim to be woke, is not working immediately for the people. We got to do something else, because there's children that's in trouble right now. They can't wait another week for us to try to get it right. They can't wait another month for us to try to get it right. Yeah, they can't wait another second for us to try to get it right. Especially if we're dealing with children and mothers out there, you know what I'm saying? Stuff, just people in general, bro. We gotta act on something that's gonna actually help people in real time right now today. And I'm sorry, man. That's why I ain't gonna lie to you. I left. For those who don't know, it's 7:52 in the morning where I'm at right now. I cleared it, dog, because I'm just tired of it, man. We getting pimped. They got taxes on top of our taxes. We file our income taxes, they tax that. Like, bro, it's a slave plantation, literally.
Right.
While they're playing politics and grab ass, we're being pimped to the utmost. There's not one thing you can do or say you did in America they haven't taxed. It's a plantation.
It's a corporation. Right.
Think about what I'm saying, though. We're the only group, only civilization of people that's trying to find a way to live comfortable on a slave plantation. That makes sense.
Well, I can make it make sense for you, Drez. How about this one? I mean, if we are on a slave plantation, that means you're on the slave plantation with us. And they control the whole world. This ain't just America. You know what I'm saying? So no matter where you go, you're gonna run into the same problem. So hold on. Let me finish. I'm not combating you. I'm just adding to what you're saying, or analyzing what you're saying. Let me be correct. So basically, that's pretty much what you've done for yourself, right? Made yourself as comfortable so you can, be affected in the least by all this that's going on. Am I wrong, or correct me if I am?
I'm just speaking the facts about home. That's it. There's nothing nobody can say that could change the facts. What I stated about our crib, where we live at, where we were born, it's a plantation, it's a slave plantation, and we have not figured a way out of it. We're trying to make ourselves. We're trying to make it comfortable. We're trying to make our enslavement comfortable, when we should be trying to fix the slavery in general. We're supposed to be dismantling it, not trying to, make it where we can have a smooth transition in slavery. The reason why people ran back in the days, brother, they didn't stick around and try to trick the other slaves to be comfortable there. They say, nah, man, we need to get the hell up out of here. That made sense. And the ones who stayed in slavery, and the ones who got the hell up out of there didn't have to worry about that no more. We the only people that keep trying to trick other people, say, nah, we can do it. We can make it work, man. Come on, guys. We can make it happen. Just give us a little more time. Well, how much time do a nigga need?
We have to first. The only immediate thing we could do, Dreads, is change the mindset of as many people of the people. Because it's the mindset of these people
can y'all hear me?
And abetting our enslavement that's allowing this shit to continue. You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm not saying you're wrong. What I'm saying is, think about this. You don't think that even back in slavery, when people literally was in shackles, there was a group of people that talked just like I'm talking right now, like, yo, we got to do something about this. And you had other people saying, no, man, there's a better way. We don't have to run off. We can actually, there's a better way. That's what it sounds like to me right now.
I'm just curious. How do you like it?
Peace
and love, brother.
I
Peace and
agree
love
with
to
you.
the
Think about it.
panel.
Hold on. This is what I'm saying.
I want to respond to the brother real
Hold on,
quick.
listen. Let
Hold
me
on
get
one
my full.
second, real
Shackles are
quick.
mental.
I
Let me
want to
get my
say
whole thought.
peace and love to my sister Alexis. And yeah, Citizen Man Dreads, let them brothers rock it out. We're going to be here a minute. Everybody going to get it in. Y'all got
Check it out. I got you.
I don't disagree with you either, Drez. I'm actually on the same page as you. But what I'm saying is our approach has to be a little different now because the shackles are mental. So we have to affect their mental first. We have to free their mental first. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's breaking the mental shackles. So your analogy is 1,000% spot on, brother.
So do you feel that moving with
I don't disagree with what you're saying. You're right. You're right. What I'm saying is I witnessed this. We've been doing this for a while. We awaken a lot of, man, we're woken up a lot of people. And I'm happy to be a part of that. But I started to realize just waking people, that does nothing. It don't. It really do not do anything. All the people that we woke up, it's cool. Now we got more people to have a conversation with. That's what it does for me. It made the community bigger. It made a lot more people I can actually talk to and relate to. After that, it ends there. And that's a fact. We create a bigger community of people that's like-minded, and we can hold intellectual conversations with. We could create little groups with them and all this. It's cool. But when it's time for us to actually say, listen, look what we did waking all these people up and how we destroyed the infrastructure. We can't say that because it did none of that. And it does none of that. And that's the truth, man.
We haven't affected enough people yet, bro. We're still a tiny percentage.
Everything start from somewhere, and I want to show you something based on what Drez just said. Now, I want everybody to realize some real shit based on what Drez just said. Because I'm not just finna talk, I'm finna show receipts, right? Watch this. The truth community, let's say the flat earth community, only been around the way we know it today, I'll say for about 8 years to 10 years now, like a decade, about a decade. Now check this out, right? In just a decade, y'all, watch this. This may seem like low numbers to y'all, but check this out. Look at the orange bar. 10% of everybody on earth think the earth is flat. Guess what, y'all? That is a fucking huge number. Because let's say that the flat earth been here for a decade. That means when it comes to every single human on earth, we getting 1% a year. That means in 100 years, technically, if this keep trending, 100% of the earth would think the earth flat, theoretically, or more than half. So
I think it'll happen quicker than that, bro.
Yeah, you see what I'm saying?
That 10% is only based on the people who are willing to admit it, because there's other people out there
Oh
that
yeah,
know
oh yeah. It's about 20.
it, but they dare not say it.
Uh-huh. Yeah, we making noise. Hey, so listen, maybe this will change some of y'all mind, because I was on some shit like, damn, man, this flat earth shit, it ain't that. If you count up everybody on earth, we less than 1%. I said that. I was like, we're less than 1%. When I put this up, this shit made me smile, buddy, if this is real. But why would they lie about, you know what I'm saying? Give us more numbers, but you know, that's up for debate.
All right. Only pushback I would give is this here. That's a real big number, actually, now that I look at it. 10% is a very, very big number. And it kind of still aligned with what I was stating earlier, because it's only 1% of the population that control the whole world. You mean to tell me 10% of us is awake and we haven't took it back yet? If it only take 1% of the population to control everything, it should take 1% of the population to combat that 1% that controls everything.
Can I interject
we,
for 10
we
seconds?
outnumber them. We outnumber them and still losing. That's
But that's
actually
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Dread. Like, but think
yeah.
about it though. It took them 50 to hundreds of years to galvanize militaries, technology, weaponry, biological warfare, computer, IT, cyber warfare, all that drunk, like all this shit, right? And all we did was found out the truth. So if you give us, if we say how much time did it take this small group of people to take over the world, I think that in a couple of more years or whatever, that momentum will change. But what I'm saying is this right here though. I think we being too hard on the masses who've been some Bible believing, sky daddy worshiping people, sheep will led into the slaughterhouse. We think they gonna get control over all the militaries, police, and all that when they just get control over their own mind and finding out that they indoctrinated. I think we at the very beginning of a change on earth. But I think there's very much more to go for this to transition to where you see in your head. Me personally, Dread, I'm gonna give you smoke and just say, I think you being too harsh on the masses based upon where we was and where we at and how much time it take to get to where we trying to be. And I'll fall back.
I respect that. No, I'm just giving a little smoke. That's all. That's all.
Yeah, that's fact though, man. If you look
Man, you a
at the
pessimistic ass nigga, man.
if you look at the change that happened just within in the past 20 years, and then you look at the youth that's coming up, the rebels that's coming up, the warriors that's coming up. So you got to give it time to change. You know what I mean? Like 7 years ago, I was sleeping, Bible thumping, and so you got to give it time to change. But you might not be here to see that change.
Yeah, we all started out indoctrinated. You know what I'm saying? So it's an uphill battle for us. So yeah, it would seem impossible and difficult, but if we're gods like we say we are, we should be able to do the impossible, and it seems like we are.
And that's how we make the change, by being an example. Everybody step up and play their part. And in time, that's what it evolves to. Things will change. We'll stop paying taxes on taxes. And you know what I mean? Brother was right. A lot of things that just don't, it shouldn't be, but it's just the way it is because we're here to play the game. So don't cry about it. You know what I mean? We took on an assignment. You just learn it to the best of the degree that it can be perceived to you, not to nobody else.
Yeah.
And, make it inhabit your way. That's
I
all.
mean, this is a good example I always try to use to put it in perspective for people. In your state, if you want to drive a car, you got to buy the car, you got to pay taxes, you got to get insurance, you got to pay for your tag, you got to pay for your registration and all that stupid shit. You got to pass inspections and, pay for shit if you don't pass inspections and go through the process all over again. But imagine you buy a car with your money. That's your property. You own it. You pay taxes that fund the maintenance and construction of the roads. You should be able to just drive your car on the road without having to pay the state anything else. But people in the state, they comply with that shit and they go along with it. If everybody in one state at one time took their license plates off their cars and all decided to just hit the road at one time, you know what the cops would do? They wouldn't be able to pull anybody over because it would never stand up in court, because now everybody can claim they were being singled out because everybody was violating these quote unquote penal codes. You know what the cops would do? They would go home and take the license plates off their cars and participate with everybody else. But that's never going to happen. That doesn't seem like it's ever going to happen because there's always going to be people who are so indoctrinated that they don't even realize the answer is that simple. But we all have to act collectively.
And let me ask you a question, citizen man.
Yes, sir.
Give us, okay, we're in 2025. Let's just say that right now. 2024. We're going to say 2025. How long do you think it will take for us to get to a point where half of the world is questioning the shit we questioning? Not more than half, just half. Because 10% of the people think the earth flat. And before you answer, let me say this. Shout out to Charlie Cupcake. She said to put that 10% in perspective, less than 3% of America is in the military. Now, that's a good way to put that in perspective. Go ahead.
I'd say probably within the next 20 to 30 years, because what it's going to take for our numbers to grow is for us to teach the truth to our kids. So when they grow up, instead of them growing up indoctrinated like us and us having to go through the culture shock of finding the truth and then coming to terms with this is the truth, and then going through having other people go through the same process when you try to share it with them, we'll raise an entire generation that already knows all this shit. You know what I'm saying? And they'll teach it to their kids. And for every two parents that get together in America, they have an average of 3 kids, or 2.5 kids is what they call it.
Yep.
I call it 3.
Yep.
So imagine for every 2 people, you're having 3 people coming up knowing the truth. So
exponential.
It'll probably take until the next generation till we see a huge jump like that.
Man, that's exciting. Now, ain't that something to be? And to me, that's some Aquarian energy type shit. Because if you think about that, bro, the world been asleep ever since the damn Middle Ages and Renaissance and shit. And we talking about just in a few generations, the pendulum gonna change, because that truth is like some exponential shit. But now I can be reaching, and I'm just saying, but this shit's exciting though. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Remember, like back in the day, America, they had what they called the baby boomers. So they knew the concept of each generation, they will, we would come through, because it ain't nothing but us. Just keep having our continuum. And somebody padded in the chat, I think it was me, myself, and where Burger King coined that slogan from, because they working with top degrees of information. So it ain't Burger King, it ain't only there where you can have it your way. It's what you're supposed to be doing here on Earth, So that's pretty much like every generation is going to come through and continue on with the enlightenment, and that's the keep the vibration rising.
That's facts. I got some smoke. How important is waking people up versus any other alternatives? I think that'll stir some good, debates up going. Go ahead.
I'd like to add some smoke if I can, Jester Man. Bro Sanchez.
Oh yeah, you got it. Y'all got it.
What's shaking, folks? Good to see you. Happy you guys having this conversation. This is actually my field. I've come on this many times on the panel. I love your work, Bro Sanchez. I always love listening to you, man. You just ask the right questions. Oh, yeah. Dude, you're awesome, man. You actually helped me with the research, and I'm here to offer solutions, because I studied the law, the history, symbolism, all that stuff. I go to court. I don't use lawyers. This is where the solution lies, folks, is that you have to understand something really important in the world, is that we're all part of the biggest human trafficking ring in the world, called the Holy Roman Empire. Okay, so once you understand that we're all considered bonded sureties to bankrupted franchises under the one and only unincorporated corporation called the Triple Crown. Okay, so that's the enemy of man, is the Triple Crown. Okay, so you have the red, white, and blue. That's why you see a lot of flags have the red, white, and blue. Knowing all these things will tell you a lot about what countries are part of. So the biggest thing you need to understand is like the Triple Crown and the people that rule over us, the Freemasons, all that kind of stuff. What we're talking about here about like Trump and all that, is that they worship Janus. Okay, so this is the many-faced God. You'll see it everywhere. Okay, even with numbers and everything, you can see who they worship as Janus, which essentially they got all bases covered. That's why Trump is essentially the figurehead, because he's actually the representation of Janus. He's a Gemini. He's two-faced. Look at his coat of arms. You'll see the symbolism referring to Janus. So once you understand all these things, that's how you free yourselves from the system. The matrix and all that kind of stuff, the tricks of Ma'at, is essentially understanding who you are in this world, that you are essentially a slave under the system. If you have a citizenship, any kind of, if you say you're a resident or anything like that, you are under contract and you have an allegiance to the Holy Roman Empire, which essentially you are a bonded surety. So that means you're a slave. We're all slaves. So once you know that, once you understand that very fact that, when you go to court, when you deal with the government, things like that, they actually look at you as a bonded surety, a decedent, which means that you're dead and never been alive. Okay, so this is the situation we're all in, folks, is that you have to do your claim of status. You have to essentially claim who you are in this world, because if you don't know who you are, you're screwed. You're screwed. Essentially, when you go in front of the court and you go in front of the judge and then you don't know who you are, you got a lawyer there representing you, it means you're layman. You're not even considered to be competent to be able to fight and stand for truth, which that's the thing that we should be all loyal to, is truth, nothing else. Not to your mom,
Absolutely.
not to your dad, not your brother, not your sister. Truth. That's what you should be always loyal to, but that's what they get us away from. They take our human attention, the most sought out commodity, which is what they want, is our human attention. You cannot have slavery. You cannot have the corporation, the Triple Crown corporation, which means a corpse, cannot operate without our human attention. So once you understand that concept, that your human attention is the most sought out commodity, that's why you have advertisement. That's why corporations spend billions of dollars on advertisement to get our attention. Once you know that, then you have to protect it. And this is the way you got to do it, folks, is that you have to know these systems. You have to understand, like, when you're talking about Q, you're talking about all this, well, that's all Janus. That's essentially, Q is essentially the Knights of the Garter. This is the Order of the Knights of the Garter. Essentially, it's a psyop. It's all, they have all the bases covered. And I understand this stuff. Why? Because my uncle, Paul, he actually deals in Switzerland. He's been dealing with the Masons for years. All this stuff that people talk about, the underground, I've known this before it became a trend. He kept talking about this stuff. People used to think of him as crazy. But then we find out, okay, there's some truth to this. We got to understand that these people, Trump, all that stuff, as much as I want to think that these people are out there trying to help us, that's what they do. They cover, they control the opposition. They actually start these things. Yeah.
Can I ask a quick question real quick? Sure. I don't think Trump trying to help me or none of these presidents trying to help none of us. I think they all, listen, hold on a second. I think they all trying to help themselves, right? But that's right. Somebody might say, well, if they in an attempt to help themselves, which one of them that's helping themselves when they help? Hey, can you mute Rabbit Man? He got a lot going on over there, Citizen Man. Yeah. So when we say, which one of them helping themselves, right, will align more with my best interest? Because that's what I hear a lot of people saying, like from the black community. They'll be like, yeah, we know neither one of them care about us, but this is the one that's out of the, oh yeah, that's the lesser of two evils. That's it, the lesser of two evils. We'll sum it up with that. Which is the lesser of two evils? I'm gonna mute up.
Well, the thing is, Trump is actually not the lesser, he's actually the most evil of evils. Because see, that's what they do. The devil's always got to have his arm around your back, tell you he's your best friend. And that's the thing about it. They use seduction over destruction. And that's what Trump is doing. He's trying to use seduction over destruction, which, to make him seem like he's the lesser of evil. But always remember, the most unassuming people are the ones you got to look out for. Just like Switzerland. You look at them, they got the neutrality swindle going on big time. You think, oh, Switzerland, they're peaceful. They don't take sides, but yet they fund all the wars. They control all the postal offices, all the ports, and all the banks. Our military-industrial complex is all run through Switzerland. And if you look, remember, I tell you about Janus. What represents Janus, the many-faced god, is 11, okay? It represents the door, is the god of doorways, the threshold, transitions, all these things. Well, when you look at Switzerland, their initials is CH, which is 38, which is 3 + 8 is 11. That's why you have 9/11, always referring to Janus, which is 9 + 1 + 1, it's 11, which represents the doorway. That's why the Canadian flag here in Canada, we have the two pillars with the maple leaf in the middle representing the doorway, the Janus. You're showing through the threshold. So that's the thing, is that this is what they worship. They worship Johannes, Janus, Jesus, Jonas, James. It's J and S, which is J9. J is 10 and S is 19. Again, you have the 119, 9/11 backwards, which is the Jesus, Esu, Janus, Anu, which is all gods between the pillars. And you keep talking about this, bro, Sanchez. You keep talking about, that presentation about God within us and having the hands up and stuff, which is represented is the two pillars, and the electricity between it is the staff and the snake. It's all about our human attention.
I'm not disagreeing with you that when we talk about Janus, the two-faced, joker-faced God, that's what we call two wings of the same bird, Democrat, Republican. I'm with you on that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, is these are all cosmology, symbolism, things like that we need to understand these things in order to be able to, know what's going on. And that's the thing, is most people we're symbol illiterate. We don't understand the symbols. The symbols.
Now, look, we understand the symbols because I'm a syncretist and I ain't trying to go into the symbols. I want to give you a little, and I'm going to open up the floor for something right now that I think going to open up a debate. I think this is what's going on now. See, we're all intelligent, Jester, man. It's just that black people over here, and I'm not trying to make it a race thing. I'm just trying to say because the title is why the Black Congressional Caucus is meeting with the small hats and Netanyahu and all that. So my thing is just man, we understand the symbols. We don't understand how there's a buffer class of people that look like me, Citizen Man, Jeremiah, Alexis, that's always smiling in the enemy face that you and me know about, just a man, and leading us into damnation. And how does that look to our people after they end up after that meeting and stuff? So we ain't tripping on the symbolism. We really talking about, like, I don't know if you know about Steve Coakley, but see, with black folks, just a man, we do got a group of black folks that's working with the devil specifically against their people. And you got a group in your own group too, just a man. You
Absolutely.
got a group too in your, so that's what we talking about right now. So I'm gonna leave the flow open because we've identified ours thanks to greats like Steve Coakley and stuff. And that's why I brought Citizen Man on here to put his foot on their neck. That's, we didn't even know about a black Jewish Congress. I didn't even know the black caucus broke down into religious sects like that. So I mean, it's, yeah, you know,
they are the Black Congressional Caucus are their main support base are the black churches. And the black churches, of course, are Christian churches, and the majority of Christians, black and white, in America support Israel because they believe, based on the Bible, that that's God's chosen people, when I think they're absolutely wrong about that. But that's another point of importance for the Black Congressional Caucus on the political side, is to keep the black churches in line, using the religious belief that Israel is God's chosen people. So Netanyahu is trying to get them to go along with the genocide that's happening in Gaza. But on the point of Trump, though, Jetser, man, I didn't know anything about the Trump family crest having the Janus thing on it. I'm not surprised by it, but I will say this: Trump by blood is not actually Fred Trump's biological son. He's actually the son of George Patton. So by blood, his bloodline goes back to the Pattons. So I guess I would have to take a look at that family and see where they come from and who they really are. But I appreciate the insights, brother. Thank you.
Hey, no worries. Well, the thing is about Trump is that just his name, Trump, means to wrong or deceive in French. It comes from tromper. So a trump card, which essentially takes on, when you have a trump card, takes on the value of all cards in the deck, right? So again, just to show you the symbolism behind these people, is that that's what they use. Like, they're straight up fighting in plain sight because we don't know the symbols, and that's the problem. And the other thing, like bringing back to, like, you're talking about, like, how we have infiltrators leading us towards, you know, like our own demise, is that the pharaohs, you know, if you look at nobility, things like that, they've always infiltrated us through the prime noctu, which is essentially the night of droit de cuissage, which means when you used to get married, if you were a peasant, you know, you get married, well, the Lord would come down and have the first night with your wife. And then that's how they would spread their pharaonic genes through it. So now when you see a lot of people out there, is I imagine you growing up, you don't even know anything about, you know, you just kind of grow up, but then someone comes to you and says, hey, you know what, you actually have nobility, you have blood, you can work with us and help us out, we'll give you this and that. Well, if you've gone through life and life is down and stuff, and you have people telling you, hey, you can be part of the big club now, well, it's easy to influence and seduce someone to go be part of it, right? And that's the problem, is that a lot of people that are you know, so-called leaders, that's the position they're in. I know my uncle, our family, we have nobility in our blood. We come from the Lemay family, which is like one of the biggest French nobility families. Okay, Lemay, which means the month of May, which was considered to be born in the most luckiest month, which is the month of May. And the Freemasons, which is the free sons of May. Okay, which is essentially, that's what they are, is all about life, coming, understanding the construct of how God works, how nature works. They study. They can't see God. They can't see what God is, but they can see his work. So therefore, they're able to understand God through that sense. That's what Freemasonry is all about. It's just a tool that has essentially been corrupted through time, and that's the problem. And so now we got all these things going on right now. We have leaders telling us, oh yeah, you know, follow Trump, things like that, leading us astray. Well, that's what they are. They're essentially, they're part of the nobility, where, you know, prima noctu, their bloodlines are part of their nobility, and that's how they get people in. and then get us, you know, that really don't know much. We're saying, hey, well, we want a leader. We see that there's problems in the world. Life is shit. So when we see a guy like Trump come along, start talking against the mainstream media, doing everything right, saying all the right slogans, then of course people's attention, human attention, is easily captured and get on board with this stuff, because they're like, yeah, wow, finally this guy's saying exactly what I've been thinking for 20 years, and finally this guy's wants to be president. He's saying exactly what I'm thinking. See, that's how they think. They know how we think. Our human attention. They know the ins and outs of the average man or woman out there. You think you're gonna be able to mind fuck them? You better know who you are.
Let me ask you a question, Jester, man. I got a question for you. Do you think that it's possible for people that come from these bloodlines, you know, certain people, to take the position of not agreeing with what their families want to do and kind of bucking the system? Because throughout history, we've heard about, you know, people being executed and blackballed. I mean, the Queen of England had a sister that was locked away forever. She had Princess Diana executed because she was, you know, I mean, you know, in that accident and shit, because she was spilling the beans. And we've heard about plenty of other people, JFK, for example, you know, he was taken out for, you know what I mean? So is it, you think it could be possible that maybe Trump is one of these people, considering what they're doing to him in the establishment, where they're attacking him on unprecedented levels? We've never seen any other president get put through the ringer like this. They're dragging him through court. You got the judges making illegal rulings against him. They're trying to strip him of his money. They done tried to kill him several times. You know, he's got a lot of shit coming at him all at once. And based on what he's done politically, it seems like he would be going against the agenda. And based on the reaction of the people who we know absolutely 100% are pushing the agenda, it seems to me like he could possibly be one of those people. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree with what you're saying. The thing is once you understand our system of rule, is that, see, you have the merging of the feudal royalist system. That's when you see the cross, you'll see it's the vertical feudal royalist rule merging with the Templar Republican rule. So Trump is actually a Republican. They're part of the Templar system. So if you understand the history of like nobility, things like that, you had the second, third, fourth born, which didn't have access to the kingdom and things like that. So what they would do, they wouldn't go towards the people, they go to the monasteries, they go to the church. So that's why you have Templars and stuff like that, which eventually they gain power over the royalists. Okay, so that's why you have the Knights of the Garter, that you have like, so when you look at Q, you'll see the Knights of the Garter does a belt, and it emerges and loops over, just like a Q. So Q is essentially Aquarius, it's Janus, it's all of that. It's Q Kabbalah. Okay, so if you understand the Kabbalah, which is started with a Q, it's all based on that. So now you got Trump, that's part of the horizontal. Okay, they're actually, he's the Republican. So there's always been wars between each other. So the feudal royalists and the Republicans always fought each other, but that's why they created the Q, the Knights of the Garters, to keep the peace between them, so they maintain control over the earth. So that's what's going on, really, is that there's some kind of infighting going on. Yeah. So Trump really, like, you'll see that he's actually playing this role, like, but really what's happening is that there's actually a war between their factions.
I agree. I can agree with that. I can totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Because there's definitely some sort of a resistance. And if we look throughout history, there's been rebellions and resistances throughout almost every kingdom and monarchy that's existed. But for the most part, they've all been squashed and put down, and the people remained in slavery and under rule. So, you know, and in America, we kind of saw the same thing in 1776 when the war broke out, whatever you think about that. But to me, it looked like people wanted to be free of the monarchy and resist the monarchy, and they were able to do it militarily. But later on, after 1812, the monarchy was able to take it over through infiltration rather than invasion. So, you know, we see a lot of, in history, we see a lot of what's happening now has played out before, but just on a more kinetic level, where it was actually more shooting and bombs and violence, as opposed to now where it's just, you know, who has control over the minds of the people rather than who has control over the most force.
Well, exactly. See, earlier you were talking about how they rule over us, right? So you have the three city states, you have the Vatican, which is the spiritual leadership, you have Washington, D.C., which is the military leadership, and then you have the city of London, which is the economical. So that's the three ways to rule over people. Is number one is your spirituality. Your spirituality is your human attention. So if I tell you, well, if you don't believe what we say, you're going to go to hell, you're going to burn, blah, blah, blah. That's the one way to control people. Well, if that doesn't work, then we can use economic means. That means, well, we'll sanction you. We're going to stop you from having water, food, all the grain, everything that you need to build your homes and whatever, we're going to sanction you. And if that doesn't work, well, then we're going to send in DC direct current up your ass with the military. We're going to send in military guys with guns, bayonets, whatever, to go kill your babies, rape your women, do all the worst things so you understand that you don't fuck with us. And that's how the world, that's how it works. It's always been like that. That's why you have the city states, all religions in the world are registered, which means are given to the regis, the king. So it doesn't matter if you're Muslim, if you're Jewish, Buddhist, anything like that. If your religion is registered, you belong to the aristocracy, the pharaohs, the Pope, black nobility, all that stuff. They own you. They own us. So that's why I always tell people, do not take any identity. Do not say that you're an American citizen. Do not say that you're Canadian, Christian, things like that, because these are all products.
You can call it long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep.
Controlled opposition.
Well, that's it.
That's the word.
Well, they're very good at that. Like they
Hey,
see,
you know
once
what?
you understand who
You
they
know what?
worship is like the many-faced God. Essentially, that they have all bases covered. You know,
People in the chat room was just letting me know I was muted the whole time I was saying that. Basically, y'all, I was picking Jester Man's brain about this whole group that's able to. He said we shouldn't take an identity. I said we don't really want to take an identity, but they give our group an identity and then enforce certain laws on it or whatever. And they have a group of people that. Hold on a second, Chris. And they have a group of people, right, that look like me, Citizen Man, all of us, speaking for our group. And we, first of all, didn't even identify as part of this group. And then second of all, we didn't identify to the buffer class that's speaking for the group. I think that right there is real important, like, and what Steve Coakley was trying to really bring to our attention as a people. I'll fall back.
Well, what you're saying there, Bro Sanchez, is that essentially, like, having identities and things like that, and it's up to us to essentially just like hold true to who we are. It's like if you ever watch the Equalizer movies, right, with Denzel Washington. I love those movies because there's so much symbolism in there, and also talking about like he's pretty much telling people this is like you gotta be who you are in this world, right? And notice how he does things. Like he goes and sits down, even the people that have done really bad things, gives them a chance to honor up and do the right thing. And that's how you're supposed to do things in court and under everything that you follow the laws of nature, of God, is that whenever someone trespasses against you, if you don't know who you are and how they trespass against you, how are you going to hold people accountable? And how are you going to change anything in this world? You can't, because you have to lead by example. You have to be the example, the shining example that you want the world to be. If you can't do that, and if you can't shine your light bright enough, then no one's going to be blinded by it enough to be able to be drawn by it, to say, holy fuck, it hurts at first, but holy shit, it's pretty bright. There must be something to it. And then people are going to be drawn to your light, and then they're going to fall suit. And then they're going to create their own product, their own identity, and understand, holy shit, this is not who I am. Who I am has actually been hiding behind my conscience, behind these gates that people have been gatekeeping for years. That's what they do.
Let me do a quick check. A Citizen Man, I don't know if everybody on a call got a chance to interject, but I'm just letting everybody. Yep, for sure, y'all got it. I'm gonna fall back. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to pass the mic around. So, gentlemen, just finish your point, brother, and then we'll pass the mic.
Well, that's pretty much it. Like all I wanted to say is share with you guys, because I think this topic is actually amazing that you guys are talking about this, and it does kind of touch on many things. And I just want to offer solutions because I've been at this for a long time. I have a YouTube channel. It's called Down with the Crown. I do police auditing. I do like not just police, but like government auditing, essentially just showing how a lot of people are sporting symbols. They don't understand. They don't know what they represent, and they're doing a lot of harm doing so. And that's every man, woman, and child in the world. When you take on corporations, you wear Nike, things like that. You're wearing these.
You gotta wrap it up, Jester, man. You can email me though for a one-on-one on symbolism.
Yeah, no. Well, I learned a lot from you, Bro Sanchez. I got a lot of like you give me so much inspiration. I get like you help me piece things together so well, man. So I blessings to you, Bro Sanchez, your panel, all the people that go on. I listen to a lot of the people. You guys are awesome, man. I just want to give you guys.
You too, man. You pretty deep. That's why I said we gotta do some future collabs for real though. No cap. Appreciate it. I'm gonna turn it back over. It's Citizen Man's show tonight, so we want to respect him and let him. Appreciate everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I got a question. I got one question for Citizen Man. So with the government system we're in your opinion, as we keep moving forward, can we fix this thing? And I fall back.
I say yes, because I don't believe that it's something that can't be done. I just understand the level of difficulty it's going to take. And because it was a system that took generations to implement and cement into the minds of society, it's going to take a couple generations to undo that. You know what I mean? So it's going to be a gradual process, but it can be done. We just got to stick to it. I mean, we started telling the truth a long time ago and nobody was listening, and now people are listening. So we are having an effect. We just got to keep at it. All right. I think Alexis would be next. Alexis Johnson, are you there? T. Wriggles, you're muted.
Yeah, I'm still here, brother. This is a major thing for me because you're the Don when it comes to politics. So if you're saying, well, I would call you the Don right now because I haven't met anybody who's more knowledgeable.
I appreciate that.
If you say we can fix our government, basically flush everyone out, and then replace them with divine people, you're actually saying we can do this. And so with that, with you saying yes, that gives me a lot of, I'm optimistic for our future.
The hard part about it is, in a sense, we kind of have to help create these divine people, like kind of like how we are. You know what I'm saying? Like imagine if like, remember that video where that guy was standing before the city council and he was telling them about NASA faking the videos? I think it was the Cape Canaveral City Council. And he was saying that they need to investigate it. Now imagine if, I think it was like 7 people, right? Now imagine if 4 out of those 7 people were actual flat earthers or were actually open-minded enough to look into it and actually investigate it and wake up to the flat earth like many of us did. Imagine what kind of trouble that would cause for the establishment. And this is what I mean when I say waking people up. But unfortunately, it's not that simple to wake up people who have already reached adult age, being, under the indoctrination like we were. So we have to depend on teaching it to our kids. So when they go to school, they teach it to their friends. They share it with their friends, and then their friends get it. So even if their parents are indoctrinated, the kids are going to be awake. I mean, how many of us are awake and our parents are still heavily indoctrinated? You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's kind of the model we have to follow, but we also have to be patient enough and diligent enough to understand that it's not going to happen overnight, because when the elites put it in place, it didn't happen overnight.
Facts.
But
yeah, that's all I got for you. I'll have more questions later. I'll fall back.
I appreciate the question. That was a good. Those are good questions. Anybody else want to grab the floor? Now's the time.
We gotta thank Citizen Man for his time, man, because we at 2.5 hours and it ain't been no fat, just all meat. Shout out to me, myself, and I, Retton, Jeremiah, Lexus, everybody on the call. It's all imagination. I don't know if I heard from all of y'all, but yeah, man, you
bro.
could pick the brother mind about anything, man. You don't gotta limit it to politics. You know, pick the brother brain. Y'all
For
got
sure.
it.
And peace to Citizen Man for sure. Powerful build, my G. For sure. I got some notes, so I would not forget. Yeah, hold on. Here we go. Yeah. You already touched on pretty much everything. It's just pointers. Just to connect some more dots. The Hebrew people, we did the etymology on it, and I brought to the table right a while ago. Of course, it's crossover, but the Hebrew people are the people that term comes from literally copy and paste, or the ones who rewrite down the laws, who ones who remember and jot down the times of history from beginning to now, right? So that's what the etymology of that term is, right? Then you got, the ancient worldwide people. Okay. Money is no longer worth anything. And you touched on that with the Federal Reserve, how it's no longer back. And literally where the Federal Reserve is located is also ancient ritual weirdo-ish as well, right? So this stuff is related to sadistic culture in a so-called spirit. And what's happening in Gaza has been prophesied. Like I'm not gonna go too deep into all that because it'll take it off on a tangent. But hold on, it was like two more things real quick, right? And then you can go ahead and just chime in. The so-called righteous slaughter. That's what it was. The only way we get in the system where we're afraid of the people that promote these laws or that govern over us as the peasant race, you know who we are, right, in this country, is by a slaughter first. They don't just magically be like, hey, follow these words on this piece of paper. No, you have to kill off the royalty first, the original royalty, the original royal family. Then you implement, okay, I heard an echo. Then you implement the actual laws to keep the future generations from coming back and getting some get back. So that's the time period we're in now, is that, in to be clear, I'm not blaming anybody based off of race or religion. It's the energy that's behind that. Because I have, I have Hebrew friends of other races, right? And so what I want, that's why I'm glad you said, no, we're all those people that are the descendants of the people that committed the first slaughters are working with us now. And that's how we're going to infiltrate, just in case anybody was wondering, because it's standard operating procedure about how we're going to take this back. But it's all plantation politics, you know that. And yeah. There's this thing called the Talmud where they're allowed to kill off any babies or whatever if they feel like they're gonna grow up and perpetrate war against them. So there's a sadistic code of law that they really follow, the people that set our so-called laws to keep us moral. I want them to understand, I want everybody listening to understand there's a copy and paste in reverse of morality. And so we just got to infiltrate that evil spirit and knock it out. Positivity, truth, and light. Yeah, peace and power to y'all, though, for sure.
Called the Noahide laws. That's what Trump is. Noahide laws.
We can't hear you.
You have to research the Noahide. Pull up Noahide laws.
You said Noah, like the dude in the book?
Noahide. Okay. That's all you need to know. That will actually open up your brains. If you understand what the Noahide laws mean, that means they can kill off everyone.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny you said that because the government in Israel actually has a policy, a secret policy that they call mowing the lawn, and it refers to deleting people in the Gaza Strip and in Palestine. When the population gets too thick, or there's too many protests or too much dissent, they go in every few years and they mow the lawn. And this information comes from Norman Finkelstein, who is a renowned expert on the Israel-Palestine beef, and he happens to be an Israeli who disagrees with what his government is doing. So, there's people on both sides inside of Israel, but it's the government of Israel that's actually out of control right now. They're the ones that are carrying out that policy of shed blood.
And
But
they
if
need
anybody
people who
else,
want to get their hands dirty. So we got,
yes,
they got a small select group of warriors that, like Farrakhan used to say, all I need is 10,000. That's it. You got 10,000 people that will go along with the sadistic program, right? That's the word I'm looking for. Program. Then the millions of people don't matter, because 1,000 people at the entrance of your neighborhood will keep your whole neighborhood in check.
right.
Real alleged martial law, and put that in air quotes, allegedly, right? So you don't need that many people to take it back either. But the people that are willing to die for them, they have families as well. Those kids are going to grow up and know the truth because of people in conversations like this. So keep it up. Peace to y'all.
Because that's what they want us to do. They want us to stay quiet, because if we stay quiet, the next generation is only going to hear them and not us. But if anybody else,
I got another question for you, Citizen Man. Could
yeah,
you could you explain this BRICS situation and how this is going to affect us? Is it positive for us, or is it negative for us? Could you go into that?
It's positive for us, but the transition is going to be negative and painful. In other words, the entire world has been on the fiat currency system. That's why the US dollar has been the world reserve currency. That's the currency that was the standard of exchange for all trade, for the majority of trade amongst all these different countries. But with the BRICS nations, because they want to swap to a gold standard, that is actually going to take away the power of the US dollar, which is going to take away the power from the Rothschild banking system to control the food supply, to control the medical system, to control the shipments of weapons and dope and everything. They're going to control everything, because any transaction involving money will have to be done with the gold-backed currency. And what that's going to do is that's going to isolate America, which is going to force us eventually to have to start creating our own manufacturing, because nobody is going to accept the fiat currency. So we can't buy oil, so we got to pump our own oil now. Gas prices are going to go down. We can't import shit from China because China's using gold money and they don't want to take our money anymore. Guess what? We got to start making our own shit now. So the factories are going to come back, and the economy is actually going to take a turn for the better. But eventually what's going to happen is the manufacturing will not be able to keep up with demand, considering that America is probably either the number one or number two consumer market in the world. We can't even produce enough shit to supply the shit that we want. Even if we had all the supplies and the manufacturing that we wanted, there's still materials that we'll need from foreign countries. There's still raw materials. There's still machinery. There's still equipment parts that not going to be made here, but going to be made in foreign countries. So we'll still have to do trade with foreign countries. So if the majority of the world who controls the manufacturing and the energy market is using a gold standard, and we're now forced to do business with them, guess what that means? That means that now the American banks are going to have to switch to a gold standard, the U.S. Treasury, which is now in control of the Federal Reserve. That's why they haven't been printing as much money as they've been printing in previous years, if any at all. I haven't heard of any. And once they switch to the gold standard, legally, that's considered a currency swap. And they're going to try to disguise it by calling the dollar, but it's basically going to be the reverse of what they did when they took us off the gold standard. They kept the name dollar, but it just wasn't one, it wasn't a gold receipt or silver receipt anymore. It became a Federal Reserve note. So they'll have to start reprinting the money in accordance with how much gold we have. So that way, when we want to do trade with these foreign countries and import the goods that we do need and the materials that we do need, now we'll be able to do it. But the positive effect it's going to have for us here in America is we won't have the massive inflation, which is the steep increases in prices that we've been seeing. People's grocery bills have damn near doubled, if not more, because of this inflation. That won't happen anymore. Prices are going to go back down. They say it could go all the way back down to 1954 prices. Gas was like 30 cents a gallon. Imagine how cheap everything would be if the truckers didn't have to pay $4 to $7 a gallon for diesel. to deliver your goods. Now the delivery cost goes down, which means the retail cost goes down. Now everything becomes affordable again. You see what I'm saying? And in doing that, it's also going to erase the debts that everybody has. That means your car loan, your personal loans, your student loans, your mortgage, because all of those contracts were written and denoted in Federal Reserve notes. But once the Federal Reserve swaps to a gold-backed currency and they start using gold and silver and precious metals receipts, that's a totally different currency now. And that will void all your loan contracts. But people are probably going to have to fight this out in court because the lenders are not going to, they're not going to just capitulate and go along with it. So you have to know the law and the judges have to rule on it. But the reason for this is because in international trade, not only do they have their contracts, but they have what they call forward contracts, which are kind of an addendum to the original contract that determines what the value of the products are going to be in the event that each one of these countries that are using different currencies have a change in their valuation of their currency during the transaction. So that forward contract basically covers and solidifies the trade, the original trade contract, in the event of a currency swap. But because no domestic contracts here in America have any forward contracts attached to them, because we're all using the same currency, so it's all denoted in that currency, those contracts will now become voided because there's no addendum to solidify that contract in the event of a currency swap. Now, this is really high level financial legal shit that most people don't know, but this is where the rumors of all your debts being wiped away if we go back to a gold standard comes from. That's how it goes down. So it's going to be a hard road, but
Citizen man.
Yes, sir.
So question, what president was it in 1930? I'm not sure, that changed it to the gold initially. Remember?
I think it was Woodrow Wilson, or was he 1913?
No,
I'm not sure, because the Federal Reserve Act was signed in 1913, and then in 1933 was when they took us off the gold standard.
Right. What, in your opinion, what would be the reason for that? And now that we see ourselves right back around to the same thing.
The reason for that was because as long as we were on the gold standard, they had to have enough gold or enough precious metal to basically match the amount of money that they had in circulation. So they couldn't just print money to pay their government employees. They had to actually limit how many people, how much they were paying the people, and how many people they could actually hire. Thus, the power of the government was limited. But in order to massively expand the power of the government, they switched to the fiat currency, where the government got to decide, Congress initially through the National Treasury got to decide what the value of the currency would be, instead of the precious metal being the decider of what the value would be. And that allowed them to expand the government, create more agencies, hire more people, and all they had to do was print more money to pay these people. That was the reasoning behind it.
Which will ultimately put America in power.
Right. Expand their control
until we got what we got come the 80s. Yeah. Bingo. Yeah, good talk, man. Good talk, citizen man. Yeah, I've been a long time listener to you, bro. You always you one of the very few, like the brother said earlier, the icons in this. So appreciate your intelligence, definitely.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
I want to share some with
I'm
you.
in the, I'm in the financial industry, so let me chime in. They're not going to shoot themselves in the foot to the point where they're asked out, and the U.S. dollar's value is gone. That's not going to happen. So that's something I got some smoke with. They're gonna launch that Fed now.
I agree with that.
And that's really going to cover them. And then on top of that, it's already started in the process of cashless pay. So everybody's really paying with their phone, tap pay. You had the chip pay, went to chip pay to the tap pay. So definitely on point, citizen man, but they're not going to cut their own head off, which is having it valued at zero. That's not going to happen.
No, I agree with you, bro. I agree with you. That's why all these world events with the BRICS and all these other nations switching to gold has to happen first, because our country has to be put, our government has to be put in a position where they have no choice but to do that, or we just have to go without these luxuries that we've been importing. You know what I mean? And the factories are going to have to go without the materials they need to produce, and they're not going to let that happen either. So it's going to be a situation where they do it, but it won't be a willing, it'll be a reluctant transition. They'll do it because they have to, not because they want to. You feel me?
Yeah, definitely,
Yeah,
definitely, most definitely.
I
yeah.
want to
It's
share
like
some with what you just said, Citizen. Oh, go ahead, MI Trust. Go ahead.
Oh
no.
yeah, I
I
was just gonna bring up the Olympics is in France, and we know why Candace Owens got fired. She was talking about the president's wife and how it's not like it's a they and not a her. But I was
Yeah.
wondering how Citizen Man felt about that and the the synchronicity between what's about to happen with the Olympics. That red, white, and blue trifecta color of ours. But and of course that's who fought over this land, the French and the British, right? But yeah, I was
Yeah.
just wondering if yep.
I'm not sure what the significance of the Olympics has to do with it. It's just, the Olympics is just one big ritual ceremony. So they're probably gonna just, celebrate the initiation of their canal project, since Israel is so far ahead of schedule with clearing out Gaza. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I'm not sure. I can only guess about that one.
No, just a wild question. Yeah, for sure.
I want to add to what you were saying earlier, Citizen Man, is that about the currency and how, like, the fiat currency that we have.
Yeah.
Just so people understand is that our money is not backed by gold, silver, or anything like that. It's backed by our human attention. It's
Yep.
always been the case. If you don't believe that it has value, then it has no value, right? So it doesn't matter if you tell me this gold bar can do this, 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 and that. If I don't believe in what you're saying, my human attention says nope, then it's gonna have no value. And see, the banks, the way they work nowadays, has been like this for a while, is that when you go and get a loan, you're not getting a loan from the bank. What they're using is your human attention. They deal only in negotiable instruments. So they're actually using your future fruit of your labor, is that you're putting that up as collateral. You're saying, okay, I'm going to sign on this paper, and by doing that, you actually created an asset for the bank. They didn't loan you anything. So that's how our money is backed. So even like the dollar bill has the all-seeing eye at the top, signifying money, which is the one eye, which is your human attention. That's how it gets a value. So this whole thing with bricks and all that kind of stuff, they're bringing back the gold standard. Essentially what it is just to kind of gold and silver, things like that. It's not a way to increase your wealth. It's just a way to maintain the value of what you've worked for, because they all keep that value. So your human attention, folks, is what gives all this currency any kind of a value or power, is your human attention. It always goes back to knowing who you are. So if you're going to the banks not knowing this stuff, and then you're signing up for stuff, you're actually participating in creating the problem, because now you're creating more debt. You're making the banks more wealthy, because when you created, let's say, $100,000 for them, they go on the stock market and they get paid up to 22 times on that value, and then they ask you to pay it back with interest. So that's the
question on a grand scale, when it comes to on dealing with all the countries on a whole, where do America stand financially or economically?
Well, that's the thing. It's like the whole world is all under the banking system. It's all under the UN. So the UN, all countries
Because
that are
remember, we
signatory.
just went through that currency change with what was it? Quote me right if I'm wrong, but certain countries didn't want to partake in
Silver, baby. Get some silver.
Okay. And so in other words, it was this idea of the American dollar value falling. I heard y'all say that earlier. So and it only led to the extent where other countries didn't want to, do pretty much any business with America. So I'm saying with Trump, with the idea of making America great again, and we know what that means when he's saying that. We talk about politically, financially, when it comes to the dealings and the goods. So my question is, where do America stand? Is it everybody, every nation?
I think we're at the back of the line. I think the rest of the world is gonna get their shit together first, and that's essentially gonna force us to get our shit together economically in terms of
So So this system that we know of and been taught and educated with at school, we're pretty much just a monopoly only utilized, like what's his name, just what man said. Right here alone, it's just agreement with us, actually enforcing and making it happen. Other than that, it doesn't really have no weight.
Right.
Can I ask a question real fast? Yo, can I ask a question real fast? Because I see a huge. I was wondering. All right, just real quick. The problem I see with that, with the going back to the with the silver, gold, or some kind of precious metal, is that the value that precious metal is given to us by the federal government. They're the ones that set those prices, because really, if you look at the metals, it doesn't really have a lot of value to humans. We can't either do nothing. So who's giving it value? The government. So it'll just be just like before. I mean, they controlled it then. That's the only problem. I think we got to find ways that things that are valuable to humans more, because then we don't need money. We just need to grow food.
Well, you're on the money there, but is that law just stands for an acronym. It's very simple. Law is land, air, and water. So that's what the law is that you have land, air, and water. That's your material. And then you can make patterns with it, right? And so depending on what material you're using, some materials got more value than other material, right? So the law, now you have your consciousness to manipulate the law. So that's the thing it comes down to, is that now you got your consciousness that looks at the law, the land, air, and water, whatever comes from the land, air, and water. Now we're able to decipher, say, hey, well, this actually does this for us. So there was only a little bit of this. So there's not a huge abundance. So therefore, the value of this thing that we need so much has to.
And remember, that's what they use, that maritime law. That's what's implemented. So you're dealing with the water.
It's just the law of the sea. It's just salvage that contract.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the thing, is like once you understand the sea, like that's why people need to understand the law. Symbolically, you need to understand the law. If you don't know the law,
politics and religion. Yeah.
Well, politics and religion falls under law, because law permeates every aspect.
We had a little question earlier. Was it necessary for politics? And most definitely, yeah.
Well, politics just means everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, it means everything, but also it comes from city. Like so police, it called like is all the which was many. So it's like a place of many, gathering many things. So politics they're talking about politics because they're talking about every aspect of our lives that affects us. That's why it's called politics, because all politicians.
Big facts. Poly means multiple, like polyamorous, polymer. It's a multiple things put together.
Yeah, that's right. So once you know that, is that you need to, people really need to understand the law in order for us to really find solutions. Otherwise, if you don't know the law and how the system works, then how are you going to really navigate through it? Because it's the seas are treacherous, man. And if you don't know how to navigate things like that through it, you're going to have a hard time. I went through the system myself. I was able to fight, and it was like, I know my shit pretty well, guys. Like, I'm pretty on top of my stuff, and it was nerve-wracking. Like, I was like, it's intimidating, stuff like that. So that's what I'm saying, is like, you want to break free from all of this, the slavery that's going on. You got to know who you are. You got to know the system of law. And
so I got a question for you then. So you're aware with being sovereign then, the UCC code?
Yeah, well, sovereign just means that you're responsible with your own self, right? That's all it is.
Right. So would you find it necessary then for an individual have to go down to court, which will be what, my adversary or someone who I'm not in alignment with, and request for my freedom? I mean, like, that seems like an oxymoron to me. Like,
no, it's you're not requesting your freedom. All you're doing is that it's like, when you look at the Pope, the kings, where they used to have the posts, right? The king's post, they would make a declaration. And if the declaration was left unchallenged, then it was so. And that's how laws are. The statutes means standing, that it hasn't been challenged. So when you go out and you make a public service announcement of yourself, like now, let's say using YouTube, right? You can start up a channel, you do a video and say, hey, here's a public service announcement. I am so-and-so. I am no longer on the Holy Roman Empire. I do not have allegiance to you guys. I'm not asking you for my freedom. I'm telling you, I know who I am now.
Right. So we should be able to do it by word of mouth.
That's right. Because the law is expressed orally, but first and foremost.
gentlemen, let's remember when we go to court, they're going to pull out that Bible, and in there it states that in the beginning was the Word. The Word is our thought. That what you say, that what you like you know, we say your word is your bond. Your bond is your
That's
life.
right. That's right.
So
Well, see
yeah,
the word.
I think
See,
that's
you got
and
your
they'll be
mouth.
respected too. They'll respect that. I'm saying. You
Yeah,
know?
well, that they have to, but a
They
lot of
might not
people
do
in
it
court, they don't
right
know who
all
they
out in
are.
court and everything, but because I don't know if you've seen it. There's a video with this guy on there. I forget what his name was, but he actually went in the courtroom and like made the judge disjourn and couldn't proceed on because he was quoting that talk. You know.
Yeah, well, it's because he knew who he
And I,
was, and
right.
the judge,
Hey,
like,
brother,
see that.
And you can actually sue the judge.
Hey guys,
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
So no, we can't do none of that, and that was all alleged.
I want to see if anybody else wanted to chime in because we got Rhett and Lucard that didn't say anything yet. We got It All Imagination and Diggy1D and Alexis that didn't get to say anything yet.
Facts.
So if
Facts.
any of you guys want to chime in and say something, please do, because you know we want to hear from everybody.
That's facts. And let me say something. Everybody go into the top of the video description right now and sub up to the brother Citizen Man on his platforms if you like what you're hearing. Just go on, do it right now and network. You know, let's build a community and all that good stuff. Yeah, salutes to the people he called out who's on the call that didn't get a chance to speak. For sure, man. Y'all grab the mic. I'm gonna fall back.
Go ahead, respectfully, Alexis.
Alexis, are you okay? There
y'all can. I'm putting the babies to sleep, y'all. Y'all can go ahead.
All right, Diggy.
Okay.
You got it, bro.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Salute to everybody. Two-time brother Sanchez. Everybody out there in the chat, bro. Yes, sir. I know it's been a minute, man. First off, real quick, before I drop a bomb, I just want to put my heart out there to everybody off in the North Florida area. Over this weekend, we got actually a touchdown last Friday. We got hit by 3 real bad tornadoes. Not sure if that's been on anybody's radar, but if you got family out here, a lot of people been without power for real. It's real bad. Anyway, getting back to the topic, not to just say anyway, but like, you know, check on your people. Check on your people.
I'm sorry, where was that at again?
I'm in Tallahassee, but North Florida. Everywhere from like Texas, Eastern Texas, Port Arthur, Southern Alabama, Louisiana, all the way up to Tallahassee. We got hit real bad over this weekend.
Thanks for sharing.
I'm
gonna tell you something, man. The Gulf of Mexico been under attack for a long time. That's all I'm gonna say, and I'm gonna use the words under attack, bro.
Facts. Getting back to the comment at hand, I just wanted to ask Citizen Man, what's your thoughts on homeschooling, big dog, with all of this information? You know, it's like a two-part. What's your thoughts on homeschooling? 1 and 2, would you feel whether it was bad or good that technically those who need to get the information would actually benefit more from homeschooling if we implemented that in the right communities?
Yeah, to answer your second question, yes, I definitely think that the kids will benefit from that. And I do believe, and to answer your first question, I do think that homeschooling is a better alternative. But unfortunately, the way the system is set up, most people can't really afford to homeschool their children because they got to go to work too. So now the public school kind of becomes a babysitter. So because they're afforded that convenience, they kind of sacrifice the minds of their children to the public school system because they feel like they have no other choice. But I think if people could actually make a real effort to, you know, change their lifestyles to where they can accommodate homeschooling, I think that would be definitely the best alternative.
I appreciate that last part. That last part, damn sure what I was hoping you hit it with. That's that little bow tie.
Appreciate that. Anybody else got any questions or comments?
No.
Well, you know, I do.
Hold on, T.
You know, I do, Citizen. Okay.
Shout out to the panel, man. Peace and love.
It All Imagination. You're up, brother.
Okay, what do you think about crypto, like Bitcoin, decentralized technology? You know,
I think it's a good short-term hustle to make some money and put some money in your pocket, but I don't think it's something that you should bank on for the next few decades. I mean,
I
there's
got
people out
I
there
got a
that
question.
there's
we're moving
people out
into
there
like
that are
a
making money.
decentralized.
Say what now?
We're moving in a lot of, I mean, CBDC, you know, central bank digital currency. Like, we need like an alternative. Like, we'll be like slaves to that type of system.
Well,
So I think that,
I don't think that's gonna happen because there's people in Congress that are not in favor of the central bank digital currency, and it seems like as far as our Congress goes, they won't be passing any kind of legislation pertaining to that. Now, if other countries in the world do it, that's their business, but I don't see it happening here because too many people, you know, the convenience of cash would never go away.
yeah, but the US dollar is going to go to zero eventually. It's not, the fiat currency can't last forever. Like,
and that's why the gold standard is going to have to be put in place when that starts to happen, because if the banks can't sustain themselves and the factories can't maintain because they can't get materials, it's going to happen. Because remember, the banks are going to be funding these factories, and you know, the factory owners are going to have to pay mortgage to the banks, and if they can't do it because they can't get materials and they can't produce, then the banks
yeah,
are going
that's
to
why
have
I think Bitcoin should be a solution. It's digital gold, and we're moving more digital than more. It's like we're moving forward into technology, not backwards.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. I just my only concern would be to not put all my eggs into that basket, because let's say the lights go
Yeah,
out or
for
the
sure. You
internet
gotta
goes
be
down.
diversified, for sure.
There you go. There you go. But
Can
are
I
you
ask y'all a
thinking like,
question?
yeah, but it all imagination. I got another question for you. Do you think so you're saying crypto would be a good long-term investment, or would you
Yeah,
agree with me
100%. I've been in Bitcoin
now?
since 2011 and changed my life. So I don't
Okay.
see, like, it's just
Can I?
cycles. And every 4 years we have a new cycle. The Bitcoin halving just happened. Happened going for another bull run. Sell in 2025. We'll probably tank and go back again.
All
Can I
right.
ask you what?
Shout
Can I
out to
ask you
you.
what was that? Hey, can I ask you
Nigga
what was that
pilot.
object he was holding up? He was holding up something.
That was silver.
You know. Oh, that was what?
Silver coins.
Oh, okay. Okay. Cool.
I
Yeah.
can
What
ask
you
y'all a
got?
question.
Because silver is like undervalued right now, you know, like right now I
Oh
think it's
yeah.
trading 1 to
1
80
cent.
to,
Yeah.
And you know,
yeah.
if the banks switch to a precious metals back currency, and silver is one of those precious metals, the value of that silver is actually going to increase. So people who are actually holding silver that invested in silver now and gold would actually be able to sell that precious metal for a higher price if they wanted to. So that switch is actually going to benefit the people who were smart enough to invest. That'd be a wise investment. That's why all the top economists keep saying invest in precious metals, because the paper money itself isn't guaranteed.
Yeah, every time they print more money, it just devalues, man. That's why price of things goes up.
Yep.
Money
Yeah,
just
that's
worth
right.
less.
The U.S. dollar is really backed by its citizens, so you know it's never going to go to zero because everybody's going to get up and work tomorrow. And that's guaranteed. So, like I said, they're not going to shoot themselves in the foot.
It doesn't matter about the US, but if the whole world is not using
You
it,
know.
it's worthless. It's just a confidence game. No one wants it. Look at Venezuela, look at all these other countries. It's a matter of time. And they notice that's why they created the World War III, all this distraction to take down the system and then give it a new system. Oh, here we go. Problem,
You know what? It
reaction
all
solution.
imagination. I think I can see where Jeremiah is coming from, because I think it's going to be headed to zero, and it could hit zero. But I think before that happens, the banks are going to make the switch before they allow that to happen.
Yeah, for sure. That's what's happening. That's why I think they're going to implement digital currency. And they can
When they
program
start
money to do whatever they want.
mowing the lawn,
Yeah,
That's
it's
not within
definitely
the next 20 years, man.
they
Realistically.
definitely want to switch. Like I said, I'm in the banking industry. It's not going to go to zero. You know, it's back. The U.S. dollar is backed by its citizens. So, in order for me to issue out a loan, I have to know that person, and it's backed by the person. I can
Yeah, but
guarantee that it's backed by the president,
every
and
day the
everybody's going to
U.S. is
continue to
one
work. Everybody's going to continue to work regardless of what happens. Nobody's going to say, "Hey, fuck it, I'm not working today," or "I'm not working at all." It'll
Yeah,
take
and
for
nothing.
everybody. It'll take for all citizens to stop working for it to tank and be
Yeah,
not valuable. So that's why you got people that's getting snatched up and traded. It's a lot that's going on that's behind just the U.S. dollar, you know. So, but they definitely want to switch it over. They're definitely not going to fuck themselves over.
yeah, for sure. It'll be a transition, but
I got a question for y'all. You see how we in like kind of like a age of sort of cancellation culture, and I hate to keep bringing up the Kendrick shit because we on some deep, but just hear me out because this played into it too, right? My thing is, when is the Black Caucus gonna get canceled? When is like the black fucking you know what I'm saying, the Boule and all them gonna get canceled and shit is what I'm saying, like, because
This
people are
might be the
fucking.
year, big dog.
Or if at all, right?
Hey, bro, Sanchez, this year right here might just be the year. Main reason I say that, because when you look at all that, like you mentioned, all that they've been responsible for, and then you turn around and you see how we start, and it's only May. It's only the 5th month of the so-called year, so I promise, it's
I'm
just may
talking
be the year.
about though, there would always be a group of Negroes that's speaking for all of us when we can't speak for ourselves at all, man. They taking out, like, look at all the censorship and shit. And then you know what I'm saying? That's because they got a group of people to speak for us. They don't need you talking, in my opinion.
I
It's up to
feel
us to have
that,
a
but
louder voice.
Yeah.
And
But
they're gonna always be there, my G. And
Yeah,
I remember my last
you
point.
always had
Hey,
that
you got
hey,
it.
hey, but peep game, right?
losing power.
Hannibal set up the parameters in the border of London, England.
That's what I want.
He was the black general, right? Not the psychopath that they want you to believe. He was the warrior that was slaughtering shit, right? And he actually created the border of what is now London, England. And the border of London, England has dragons on each. It's like 7 points. And that goes back to the red versus white dragon, but that's ancient Merlin times. And you know what, Mur and Marut and all that, right? But that's really, we will always have a black race of people who are actually really running this system that we're fighting against.
I
That's what I want to be
disagree.
clear.
You said there's
Look, but
always a
can I
black
say this,
race of
What we
Sanchez?
people.
think
Let
is
me make
black,
sure I
but what we
heard.
think is black, but it's an
Yeah,
actual spirit. It's an energy, and it can change color. It's different races that are in power around the world, but the ones who put this system in power in the original, it was beautiful, but then it was perverted. The perversion has been kept hidden or perpetrated like it's the people that look different than us. When really the people in power, like we're seeing, I think that they're feeling free to expose themselves. That's what we're seeing really, because now they feel comfortable. So it might take a while, but yeah, y'all got it.
You know what I think, man? I think that the American seat of power became up for auction. And instead of us having like legitimate leaders, we had, of course, puppets, but the whole thing is it became who can bid the most on the next puppet is in power at any given time. And that's where real capitalism is. Money talk, bullshit walk. Like he was talking about earlier that the voting system is rigged, right? And we be talking about buying politicians and buying lobbyists. And I was just thinking about like, damn, we in these spaces talking about buying politicians and lobbyists instead of buying the people that's rigging the goddamn. We need to buy riggers. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. But
but
yeah,
you
I'm
know,
gonna fall
If
back.
you
Sanchez,
don't own the cake, you
no,
already
you
can make it.
can I say something? Like
you
I'm
own to
right here,
something though, bro,
principally.
Sanchez. Go ahead, bro.
No, I just want to say real quick, like it reminds me, like I look at the story or the history here in Pennsylvania and Philadelphia, where you know these people that excuse me, ran all up and down Germantown Avenue and Girard Avenue, and into Fort Washington and things. I sit along here and I ride and I say and I try to imagine this. You know what I'm saying? We tap into the spirit, and you got to understand what the Schuylkill River was about and how much energy is all along there. And like if you just really go there and talk to the water, because that bridge, it's called East Falls Bridge. It actually was a waterfall that ran down and hit rock that you could hear all the way up to Boone Fairmount. You know, so like when I look at that, now look at the back of $2 bill. Isn't it not one what we call melanated individual on it? Right? Who has discovered that? And
Yeah, John Adams on the back of it.
Yeah, he dressed very well too, ain't he? That boy got a
Yeah.
sword on him and everything. So my thing is like, it's just like everything else, you know. And Sanchez may have got a point. Okay, may have been bitten and so forth, but the whole idea when how the Christopher Columbus concept got thrown in there was these people, like myself said, you know, allowed it to happen, and like they just took further land and moved somewhere else, maybe beyond the ice walls. Who knows? You know, like. But this part right here, where we had the wilderness of what they call North America, was literally given up. They did what they did. We done did what we did and moved on. That's why. Who said it? I think somebody said that this is like some of the oldest ground over here that never shapeshifted, and said that. Didn't you debate that? I think it was Dane Calloway.
Tectonic plates and shit. Yeah, it's some of the oldest
Yeah.
tectonic
He
plates.
said that. Yeah, this is some of the oldest grounds and shit like that.
So
like,
can I ask a question about that?
That's about right, because it's a lot of mysteries with that Grand Canyon. Just chiming in what bro was saying, though, because we got some very, very ancient land here falling back.
So look, so do y'all think the emblem of America is a personification of something, or it's just artwork?
I think it's a symbol. There's symbolism there, and I actually broke down the symbolism, but like all symbols, it's been corrupted to mean something else. You know, that the stars on that flag is supposed to represent the people, but the people pretty much have no power because the controllers have all the power. You know what I'm saying? And the whole orientation of the flag with the stars to the top right is actually representative of the pharaoh sitting on the throne with the flag upside down. Well, when the flag was designed, the symbolism was to overthrow the royalty, which is turning the pharaoh's throne upside down, and then you see the real outline of the American flag that we fly today. That's what it represented, but now it represents something totally different because it's been co-opted, and all manners of evil has been committed under that flag. So people kind of have a bad taste in their mouth.
I'm specifically talking about three emblems of America. I'm talking about 1798, 1800, and 1801. Those three. Is there anything that it personifies to you? Because the other day, right, I seen a video of a guy that went to the British Museum, and he was like, "Look, y'all, I had to get a private meeting. Like he had to call up there and make a private meeting just to look at one of the emblems of America." And the emblem that he pulled up was the one from 1801, which is not older than the other two. That both artwork is kind of deep, but he was saying like, "Look, y'all, this the proof." But the date is later than the ones that before it. And if you look at that ones before it, it shows two other women than the women that they have, the one woman they have on there on 1801 from the two women from 1798 and 1800. You got to look at each one to understand what I'm saying, though. You know what I'm saying?
So what does the emblems represent? What do they mean, though? Do you know that?
But that's what I'm saying. I'm asking, what do you think is artwork, or do you think it personifies something? That was my question.
I can share with you what the American flag really symbolizes, if you want.
No, I said the emblem of America and three specific ones, not the American flag. The emblems of America.
Yeah, there's definitely symbolism in the emblem.
And the only reason why he could look at the picture, he had to get a private meeting inside the British Museum again. He couldn't just walk in there and see it. He had to make a meeting and set an appointment just so he can open a big book and look at the emblem of America. But that one is from 1801. It's two ones that's older than that one. So I was just wondering what the significance was to it. You know what I'm saying?
Talking about this picture, dude. Talking about
That's
this?
one. That would no. He was talking about that picture. I was talking about 3 of them. That's one of them. That's the one from 1801. That's the one in the British Museum that he had to make an appointment to look at.
What was the other year you mentioned, bro?
1798.
1798. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with them.
Yeah.
Look at this one. Look
The
at this
American
one.
flag, like if you
Let me
look at
see
the
it.
symbolism with that, you'll see that the red, white, and blue represents the red,
You
white,
see,
and blue
y'all see, you gotta
crowns.
pick the right one though. It got 2. It has 2. Let me see. They hit that one right there at the top right. Hit it. Yep. You see that one? And see the people on that pole right there? You see that? That shit is crazy. Is that pygmies or is that Indians? Like what they saying? Or is that Moors? Like who them short guys are? You see what I'm saying? And then go to the one from 1800. Now hit 1800 and watch this one.
1800 or 1801?
1800. You just looked at the
All right.
1801.
All right, I'm just double checking, bro. Hold on.
No, it's all good.
Sanchez ain't the only one do this shit.
Yeah, Sanchez good at that share screening thing. As Citizen Man. Yeah.
All right, click that one. See?
Yeah.
You see the one? Click. No,
I can't see that.
not that one. That one to the right, top right, in the first column. Let me see it.
Yeah,
You
that's
see the little guys in the background?
yeah. And the one in the middle. Who that?
What y'all
Right,
think
yeah.
about that when y'all get some time? Just get back with me on that, man. It's just something I
That's a
ponder on.
dude
Y'all
right
talk about
there.
old land and stuff like
I'm
that.
good, Philip.
You know what I'm saying?
That's like a little, you can't, it's hard to tell, but that's a person right here that I'm circling.
Do you know who painted these paintings?
Each one, every one is descriptive. It tell you everything in each one. That's how I know the dates.
Yeah, I'm gonna look it up.
But what y'all think about that though? Y'all think it personifies something? Are they saying who are those short people? Like who the people y'all think they is? And is that Queen Khalifa, the lady from 1801? Is that Queen Khalifa they talk about? And she was fighting back and she stood on business and she was wearing a link.
You know what?
There was a link on her.
I would have to find out who
you think
painted it,
about
and
this?
then you can find out the time period and how his art
What
style
you
was.
think about this though?
Yeah.
It could be
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
It could be the pick me.
I got
Real quick, it could be the pick me. What y'all think
That's what
about
I'm
that?
thinking. I was thinking about the pygmy. The first thing I thought about Sanchez, the pygmy, the short when they kept like, why they keep showing the short one with the feathers?
Yeah,
I just kept thinking about the pygmy, bro. I promise
Oh,
you.
here go a different image of that same one you mentioned. And it's the same, like you just said. It's like you mentioned, short,
And
dark
when they
skin.
show not to cut you off, but it was Queen Khalifa the enemy that came to conquer them or what? You know what I'm saying? Like it's crazy like that. I don't know. Look, right there, go back to that picture. Wait, who are those people right there? Like who are those people?
I
You see what I'm
think that's
saying?
the
Like,
pick me right there.
no, I'm talking about on the pole.
Oh, okay. Nah,
The
on the
kings
pole. Hey, could that be the royal family tree?
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, who is that? You see what I'm saying? Is that when are they trying to tell us when they came and took over? You see what I'm saying? Like, it's so many aspects. I just wanted to know what you really thought about it, Sanchez. I know you got that eye to see
That
shit.
shit look just like a
I want
Babel.
you to
It
look
looked
at
like
all of
kind
them
of
and
like
tell
some
me
family tree type junk to me, for real.
on some North Pole shit. Some other shit. I don't know, man. I'll be,
But yeah, man.
know.
Salutes to everybody in the chat room. I appreciate y'all, man.
You think it could be symbolizing the North Pole?
Hey, hold on. I just got an answer. Hold on. I got an answer. It says in the description right here that it's an allegorical figure shown full length standing to the left, holding the standard showing the stars and stripes of an eagle, looking at 2 black boys wearing a feather-headed dress, who stands on the left while gesturing. 2 pillars decorated with oval portraits of Columbus, Americanas, Raleigh, Washington, Adams, and others in an oval frame. It actually said right here exactly who those people
But look
were.
though, not to cut you, right? You see how they say boys, and then in the other picture they look like short men. They don't always look like boys now. It's one picture where they're like little short men, not boys.
Yeah, solid all the way.
You
Like
gotta look at the other ones where they look like little short men. They cut up, you know what I'm saying? They don't like no boys.
Nah, this one
Those are
right here,
men
though.
right there. Those are not boys right there. Those are men.
But we know that they used to hunt the smallest
See what I'm
people
saying,
in real
Sanchez?
life back in 19 what was it? Like
I'm tripping, y'all.
Me
Bro,
myself. When did
but look,
when did Saint Patrick go around the world and almost made the pygmy go extinct? That was when
oh yeah, when he killed the serpents, when they call Saint Patrick. Man,
Saint
I can look it up
Patrick
real quick.
almost made the pygmy go extinct at one point. Y'all can look that up.
Yeah,
And
called it
that
a snake.
picture right there is from 1798 with the little men. That one's from 1798.
hold on, isn't a pygmy from Africa? Over
Nope.
in
They from everywhere.
From the North
Yeah.
Pole.
everywhere? Okay, because she's holding an American flag, so that I'm gonna have to say she's standing on American ground. And then you got the pygmy there, like, you see what I'm saying?
Big
Man, I
So
fact.
fuck
that
with this bill
like,
right
her
here. I
with that
fuck with
flag,
y'all.
that doesn't know she's standing on American ground.
Or maybe she's standing on conquered ground because when you conquer lands, you plant your flag.
Flag,
And in
That's
this
okay.
what I'm
situation,
saying.
Like they
And
said, they
see, you
took
see
like
how
a
Queen
clone.
Khalifa came after in 1801, and she had the weapon standing up like, yeah, we done fought. Like, what they saying?
Yeah, right.
You see, if you look at the time frames, each one's saying something, bro. I promise you, each one is
and I
saying
think
something.
they refer to those
I
pygmies
keep forgetting, bro.
to throw us off so
They
we
ain't
don't
went
think
nowhere. They
pygmies
done
is their
moved them.
children.
Shit.
ain't went
I
You
nowhere.
forgot,
got some
y'all. Hey,
research to
trip
do,
fact.
baby.
Hey, trip fact though. Magic bean. We was talking about the magic bean, right? And Jack and the Beanstalk. The reason they call them magic beans is because over there, I guess in like the British Isles, London, Ireland, all those isles, beans used to float up across the beach, and people over there used to pick them up. And these things like never. It's something weird about the bean, but man, I got to look it up again. But those beans are indigenous to the Americas. That's what they were saying. Like and so it's a whole lot of flip and swatch and mirroring when we're talking about and they just found an anomaly like a great Stonehenge type ancient Neolithic structure popping up out of Lake Michigan. So look that up also. But yeah, everywhere is, I think this is really the old world, just like everywhere is the old world. And just like those little people, we had little people over here, and there's little people over there.
That's
And
what
they
I'm
were slaughtered
saying.
all for a specific reason. Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah, you
my
got it.
theory is that it was equal amount of everybody on Earth. It was equal amount of midgets or what we call dwarfs or pygmy on Earth as it was our size humans. But I think that's just a theory, though. I ain't gonna never put that in fact because I wasn't there. But it's a lot of accounts said that the pygmy was being slaughtered off around the world at one point. I can believe that because the albinos is still getting hunted to this day in Africa.
Yep, and they got documented cases where they used to take people on hunts back in the early 1900s, and you see them with the like Discovery Indiana Jones type of like tan gear hats, but they were hunting the little people off. And so yeah, this is something that's been happening. I'm not sure how long that goes back, because back when we see the little people in some sort of reverence or worship in certain like Bess is a little person. He's like, when you look at Bess, he has what you call little person features dwarfism, like his thighs and certain things are bent out. Specifically, he's not a small statue normal built human being. He's an actual dwarf, and they actually sculpted him that way too. But yeah, and those people make people laugh, and so that's why he was over childbirth and such, because in over the kids. But then it turned evil, and then Bess with his tongue out turned into the clown. But that's a whole Europe. I mean, it's not European, but it's a whole mirror verse, this whole copy and paste of ancient culture to modern culture. Then it reverses back again. Then and now we're just decoding it right now. But yeah, y'all got it.
Is it not confusing to say that I seen a post that said that albino rhino just went extinct? I was like, what? How the hell that happened?
What y'all think about this, right? What about? I've been thinking, man, it may be a whole bunch of like we've been talking about uncharted lands, but look, Retton, shit going extinct and shit coming into extinction like a new species and shit. You think they might be, this is an experiment coming from uncharted areas where they say, look, we need some of this kind of animal into the simulation, into the ecosystem to eat this kind of insect, to clear up this kind of insect or whatever. And then once it eat enough of that population down, we'll say it's gone extinct, and we'll introduce new creatures as we need to keep little control in the Truman Show and shit in the ecosystem. Am I reaching too much and shit, y'all?
Whoa, I like that. No, you ain't reaching, bro. That's kind of because there's a lot of new ones coming out. It's a lot of new insects and a lot of new creatures we've never seen. It's like
Especially in
fishes.
the ocean. Yeah.
We
Like, where
calling
this
them
shit
new,
coming
but
from? And they said,
what it is,
that's
what it
crazy
is, I
what you
think.
just said just now, Sanchez.
No, we
real, man,
calling them new, but like bro just said, it could be things that already been here. Shit, it might just be coming back.
Because if
Or
they,
it
if
could
they,
be as simple- or it could be as simple as this. There's parts of the oceans where these creatures lived before, and now it's so polluted they can't live there. So now they're popping up in our, in our sites in search of cleaner, better waters. And now we're starting to see them when they didn't have to make contact with us before because they had safe places to go. There's a lot of trash that they dump out in the Pacific Ocean, and you look on that flat Earth map, that's a huge area on the Pacific Ocean that
My man made a whole plastic island. It was a guy that made a
it's all
plastic
these
island out of trash.
it's all these immigrating laws, man. We done opened up the floodgates for immigration, for insects,
And look,
bugs, and all.
And having said that, I think on the concept that I have heard the talk of how now we got this interlocking dimensions where since April 8th, some of y'all aware of these concepts that's supposed to allegedly has been taking place, So we don't know.
I feel like. Oh, go ahead, my bad.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, bro. It's cool.
I feel like it's like a place where they got like, see, you know how phones is Stargates and Black Mirrors and our cell phones is small Stargate, right? So in other places they got like, they know how to fly aircraft. Everybody know how to fly, and it's more quieter and it's more advanced technological shit that we don't know about. They got all type of crazy shit, and some of their technology is leaking back to us, and they trying to spoon feed us and keep us back 10 years when they 20 years ahead. You know what I'm saying? And keep giving us the iPhone 15, 16, 17 when they just walking straight to the Stargate, just like the portals they got at the malls. Right now when you walk in the mall in Orlando, you can wave at somebody in California. You just can't walk through it yet. You see what I'm saying? But we looking straight at each other. So they like small Stargates, and they just playing with it in our face. And they got most people going in GTA every day, playing GTA, like and acting like they living their real life in GTA. Right?
I think so.
And soon they're gonna have to link and put it on their brain and go in the game to play. You see what I'm saying? They're getting them used to it because them boys play GTA all their life.
Right. And in some places on this plane, we actually have those events going on. Right. I don't even think the war is going on. They talk about Israel and Palestine, and don't forget Russia and Ukraine, who are now all of a sudden they don't talk about no more. I think they talking about they under there fighting people under the water. Because remember, sharks and shit is being eaten. We talking about great white sharks, man. Who the fuck is eating these niggas? Like, you know what I mean?
Man, I don't know if it's me or what.
Don't forget, under the water,
cranking up ever since this eclipse.
It's mental, man. The war it's not like they dropping bombs or nothing. It's what they're doing to our mind and socially engineering us and shit like that. That's what the war is really. How they really
too far into existence to be out there running around with guns, man. Like, come on, man. I don't know. I was watching with something with Mag Bitter Truth put on how it's funny how they always got the cameraman right next to the niggas out there shooting. Like that's Hollywood. You can't do that.
They're getting everybody ready for augmented reality. I'm telling you, man. Them boys
they're gonna keep flipping to show you this.
Hey, bro,
you gonna put you know that new Apple? You see that new Apple thing they got that you put over your face for Apple?
Right.
You see how you can walk around with it all day, right? You can wear it over your face like shades.
Hold up, y'all. I think Citizen Man, you got it.
Yeah. I gotta get going, man. So I guess we gotta start wrapping this thing up. But I appreciate you guys' point of views and opinions. It was very, very insightful conversation, and I hope you guys learned something from me too tonight. I hope it kind of sparks your interest enough take a deeper look into things and come up with your own conclusions, because I don't want you to believe what I'm saying. I just want you to take what I'm saying and either go debunk it or verify it, whatever, whichever route the truth takes you at. You know what I mean? Because that's the source of all our awakening. We all woke up because we decided to go see for ourselves rather than just believe what somebody said. So
there you go.
And
Go see for yourself. That's all it takes. A little effort.
And we're gonna end on that statement. We appreciate your time, Citizen Man, and everybody gonna go follow you by clicking those links in the top of the video description. We'll see you when you do your next live, my brother. And I appreciate all of y'all, man. It's been an awesome show. Y'all brothers be safe, and peace and much love.
Peace and love.
Okay, yeah, City, that no wonder. Okay, yeah, I got you the host joint. You got to click my name and give me the host back, Citizen Man.
All right.
Peace and love to everybody in the chat room. Go follow Citizen Man, y'all, for real.
Likewise.
This was fire, man. We got a networking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. And if you guys want to catch my next live, I'm going to be live Wednesday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So I go live Sundays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10:30 Eastern. So make sure you guys 10:30 p.m. Eastern. So if you guys want to check me out, check me out. I got a lot of content on YouTube, but now they've been flagging me, so I got to move back to Rumble. But I do go live on YouTube and Rumble. And the streams that don't exist on YouTube, there's just promo videos for them. Those are on Rumble in full length. So make sure you guys follow me on Rumble. You can create a Rumble account if you don't have one. It's fast, it's free, it doesn't cost anything but a few minutes. And you can like the videos, share the videos, create your own content, comment in the live chat. The same kind of shit you can do on YouTube as long as you got an account. So, and check out the other content creators on Rumble too, because a lot of guys that can't put their content on YouTube because it's too hardcore for YouTube, it's too gangster for YouTube. Most of them are on Rumble, so you'll find a lot of good shit over there. So, Bro Sanchez, I appreciate you having me on my YouTube channel, the Citizen Man TV, and shout out to everybody on the panel. And again, I appreciate you guys' insights, man. And shout out to everybody in the chat.
Citizen Man TV, 10 p.m. Eastern time, guys. Shout out to 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'm gonna be over there, Citizen Man. 10:30, y'all, on Citizen Man's side. Jester, man, we appreciate you, man. You pretty deep. Email me. All of y'all brothers, man. Yeah. All of y'all brothers email me, man.
Nice
we gonna strengthen this community, man. We got a squad. Citizen Man has been a day one guy, so y'all follow him. We got us line up here. If you other brothers want to shout y'all stuff out before we leave, and we gonna get on.
I think he said he got a YouTube. Just a Man got a YouTube channel.
Yeah, Just a Man got. I just subbed to him, man. You know what I'm saying?
Thanks, guys. Appreciate that for sure. Like, I think Bro Sanchez, like, you're a powerful ally. Like, there's one guy I think that's gonna really help set things up for in the right place. You got the right formula, brother. You got see all the great minds coming together, and you're just consistent, and that's the key thing, man. You've been consistent for so many years, and that's the key, man. The fact that you're consistent the way you are, and you always bring facts to the table. This how we're gonna win this fight.
I appreciate
100%.
I'm humbled, man, and I appreciate y'all. I really do. Can't thank y'all enough. Y'all be safe, and I will see y'all next time. Much love to all of y'all, and peace. We out.
All right, later.
Thank you, guys. Citizen Man is saying up to you as well, man. I'll be checking you out.
For sure. Hey, I just subbed up to you, Jester, man. Hey, let me make sure. Wolf Clan Media, right?
No, that's actually a link to if you guys want to learn a bit about what happened with the Corona thing there.
Okay. I'm saying but that I know that's you though with the under this one. Okay, I got you. That's you.
Yeah. I got two channels. The other one's called Down with the Crown.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said. Yeah.
Okay. Oh yeah, I gotta go to that one. I got you.
I'll put it in the chat. I'll paste it.
Okay. There you go. All right, we out, man. Peace and love.
Appreciate you guys. Peace and love.
All right. Appreciate all of y'all's support.